Good now, everybody, and welcome to the Rise Up Morning Show, your place for helpful news, commentary, and of course, answers to your crypto questions. My name is Evan, and I am so glad that you are here with us this morning. If you're new to the show, then hey, I've got to tell you, we just launched the Discord community. Be sure to get in there. It's at the link in my bio. Though some people have had trouble joining that way, don't worry if you have trouble. We can walk you through it. If you're new to Discord, we can walk you through it. Our goal is to make it the most user-friendly server possible. It is your home on the internet to join a trusted community that will help you learn to leverage this technology to, we say, rise up and write a better future. We've got a great show for you today. We've got Will and Mack joining Alex and I on the panel. I can't wait for it. There's Will right there. Come on up, brother. Good to see you. And among other things, we've had a request from our friend Wes to talk about Bitcoin dominance. Looks like some price action is happening in the market. Looks like Daddy Gary has maybe changed his mind about ETH ETFs. What a birthday present that would be for me, huh? I'll tell you. I am here for it, and I'm glad that you are too. Here comes Will. Let's get him here momentarily.
I was tempted to come on
man.
lock option. Morning.
Nice.
I was so tempted to be like Mac and come on with like the koala.
Like a waggly koala, yeah.
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 How you doing? How's the morning treating you?
Oh, so far so good. I tried to film a video from my garden, but my energy was kind of low. You know how it is. Sometimes I got to do one or two takes, and this is no exception. I got to kind of like wake my face up.
That's why you just make yourself a ton of Italian espresso, and
Yeah.
then you're just always on.
Always on.
On.
I'm about 2 sips deep into this cup of coffee, so in an hour I'll be feeling right. After the show, I'm gonna go try it again. I wanted to try and capitalize. You've seen that trend that everyone's doing, the like, hey, watch this video for 5 seconds and erase my debt. My birthday is Thursday, and I thought it'd be a fun way to invite people to participate in that trend by raising donations for a charity here in Memphis I have volunteered with called Manna House. They serve hospitality, hygiene, coffee for people in chronic poverty or experiencing homelessness, living on the streets. They're one of the very best. A lot of those organizations, they're super extractive. They're really icky. You know, they make you do stuff before they serve you. And Manna House is just, they're friggin' awesome. So
it's funny. I was like, what kind of stuff do they make you do?
They don't make
my mind immediately went to the gutter.
You know, I mean, oh my God, I have seen people do everything. First of all, there's this place, the most popular Mission here in Memphis. They charge like $10 a night, which sucks. I get why they do it. It's a business model, but you know, there's other things. You know, you gotta pray their prayer. You gotta, I don't know. Don't get me started on it. It's wild, but watch out for that video. And then when you see it, you know, tap it, like it, all that stuff, comment on it. And we'll help the Manna House people because they rock.
Engage. Yeah, gotcha, man. All sounds good.
Thanks, man. I see we got some folks in the house. How exciting is it that on the day one of the Discord server, we've already got about 100 people in there? I'm pretty stoked about it, man.
Yeah, no, that was nice. That was nice to see. I was curious to see what kind of numbers we'd get on day one, particularly with the Discord link on TikTok not like working and whatever. So, you know, the main funnel is a little constricted, so I was like, oh, hey, we got 100 people in here. This is great.
Right.
I've had a lot of people asking for a Discord channel for me for a long time. So when you guys reached out and like, hey, we're thinking about doing a Discord channel, I was like, oh, perfect. I was like, because I don't have the time or energy to fully manage another social channel.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
Yeah. So I will utilize your guys' energy. Amen. And just jump onto the backs of you guys.
We are standing on the shoulders of giants, by which I mean Alex, who is the resident Discord whiz for sure. So if you're already in the server, thank you so much for making it a great place to be. Bear with us, give us your feedback, let us know how things are. Alex is implementing an onboarding experience today that's going to make it even easier for you to get in there, get up to speed. And if you haven't joined yet, what are you doing? Use the links in one of our bios. Apparently, they're hit or miss. Mine has worked. After you sent me that message, I tested it. Mine worked on a couple different devices last night. So if you have trouble, send us a message, leave us a comment. We will get you in there. It's free to come in, hang out, ask us a question, and we are adding different premium services that will give you deeper access to our experience, the things we're doing. Will, you just put up the first sort of digital download. Is that right? Or is it?
Yeah. I put up the first digital download. It's not in the Discord yet. Right now, it's just the only way you can access it is through the beacons link on my TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. Goal is to try to make this available to premium members of the Discord channel too for a discount of what I'm charging directly through mine. That's the goal. I think that'd be good value add for premium folks. And then I'll be making my own website too. I'm going to have like a whole bunch of other digital products I'm going to be trying to be putting out over the next forever. So
the next forever. The last one was long, man.
Yeah, but they'll all be a little long as I do individual deep dives. But yeah, so what the product is it's the Coin Guide crypto research template. So it's an Excel workbook that I put together for people that guides you through every single category, or at least the overwhelming majority of categories of any cryptocurrency, and how you should be evaluating it, how you should be researching it. I've preloaded it with questions that you should ask yourself, because they're the same questions that I ask myself of how do I research this coin? What questions do I need to answer to think if the business model is good? Do the tokenomics make sense? Are the partnerships genuinely helpful? And I also preloaded it with a lot of my favorite sites and research tools that I use to then answer those questions. And it all makes sense. And then ultimately it ends with like, should you make a decision on investing this or not? And then a whole bunch of follow-up questions that you should ask yourself to ultimately decide if it's worth adding to your portfolio or not. And the whole goal of it was like, I want people to be self-sufficient and not just like hear something from a crypto influencer and then rush to a Coinbase and throw money into it. I want people to like go to influencers and be like, okay, people talk about this coin and this coin and this coin. Now let me take my research template, do my own analysis, and see if this person's talking out their ass, or if this is something I might want to actually evaluate. So that was the point of it.
Is there any chance you could flip us the camera and give us like a sneak peek? Would you be willing to do it? Just because I've seen
sure.
it.
Hang on a second. Let me just go off camera for a moment.
While he does, Alex, I mean, that's got to be one of the number one questions we get. And I know you get it a ton and have made a lot of resources for that. How do you research these tokens? I've just heard about the token. What should I do? Right? No brainer. You got to research.
My other favorite angle for pushing that kind of product or that kind of research or that sort of methodology for somebody to look into stuff is so that you can start fact checking these morons that sit here on live and just pontificate about stuff that they've never even read about. Like, dude, if I had $1 for every time I've been given a bearish recommendation from someone who I would be just absolutely gobsmacked if they spent more than 5 minutes and read more than the brochure, we could fund this whole enterprise.
Yep. All right. So I know this is going to be like grainy because it's my computer screen. So apologies here. But if we zoom out, this is the whole workbook, right? And up here you have like, questions to ask, different questions that you should kind of ask yourself in sections. And then I've preloaded these with questions for each area for like, how do you evaluate if the use case is useful? What kinds of questions you need to ask yourself to measure adoption? What kind of questions you need to ask yourself to try to figure out, even if you don't have a technical background, if the technicals are sound? Questions to ask yourself for the tokenomics, the team, the social channels, the GitHub, the partnerships, the exchange listings, the roadmap, latest news. And then I have it pre-filled with all different questions that you should ask yourself, as well as, actually, hold on a second. This section is actually all of the tools, sites that you can go and use for free to answer those questions. And then I've preloaded my thoughts and opinions on what basically would make each section like a strength or a weakness to a cryptocurrency. And then you have like your final thoughts and opinions that you should add here. So, and this is basically the entire thought process that I myself go through when I'm evaluating a cryptocurrency for my own investment. So that's kind of what it is.
That's killer. Okay, so a couple of quick things is, first of all, Daniel makes a really good point in the comment that most of the material you're going to see about any cryptocurrency, you Google, look up, whatever, it's going to be marketing copy. We talk about this. It's the ideal laboratory condition for highway miles per gallon. So not only do you want to be able to check that stuff, but you want to have some sort of we hope to give you some sense of research acumen so that you can decipher, like, is this just somebody whose job it is to pump this token telling you why it's so great? Or, is this a differentiate? What's the bias of this source? What's your media literacy here? Tori said, I want to make this into a PDF so bad. Tori, if you missed it, Will is, making this available as a template. It's in the link in his bio, or going in the link in his bio, and then it's going to be available for premium folks to get at a discount. And I just want to say that alone right there, what I would do if I was you, to see if the juice is really worth the squeeze as we start adding resources like that, is anybody can get a free week. I wish it was 2 weeks, because you need some time. But anybody can get a free week of premium membership in the Discord. So why don't you just wait till we get some products up there and then join for a week for free. And then you get all the stuff at a discount. And if you decide, man, I never want to see these guys again, get the heck out of there. And congratulations, you arbitrage the system. But our goal is just to make it so valuable for you that you stick around and hang out with us and are there long term. I'm working on the 10 things you should do to go zero to crypto kind of PDF bit. Tori, I'll call you. Maybe we can team up. Maybe we can make a little cute graphic for it or something. And I know, Alex, you're working on stuff too. Yeah.
I'm going to say too, for a good sounding board for, or a check on Will's process, is just to look at his videos, because this is what he does to make all of those deep dive videos and stuff that are posted. And you've got quite a few in recent history.
Exactly.
Go in, increase my views, increase my likes, add comments, save it into your favorite, all that stuff, guys.
And like us.
How you get
really
the most out of my
like
videos.
us.
Please like me. Tell me that I'm pretty. But also, what I'm going to do is, for each of the future deep dive videos I do on specific cryptocurrencies, I'm going to fill out that Excel spreadsheet on my own, and I'm going to upload those as digital downloads too. The goal is for it to be largely community driven, as I have been so far, with which cryptocurrencies get selected. So obviously I make my deep dive videos on it, which can be 6 to 10 minutes long. So I go through a lot of the information. There's no way I can go through all of it. So that individual cryptos Excel spreadsheet made by me, with all the information populated, all the sources populated, will also eventually be available for sale. I'll have to create my own website, but I'll be working on that over the next few weeks. And then I'll also be doing some analysis on other cryptocurrencies. Like, I'm just going to go from the top 10 and down. So I'll do Bitcoin, Ethereum, I'll do Solana, I'll do XRP, Cardano. I'll just go down the list in case anybody's interested in them. So yeah, that's what I kind of have planned as my workload to try to make some things of value for folks.
Yeah, awesome, man. Well, we did have a question about. We had a question about Bitcoin dominance, and maybe it's a good time to shift to that. Bitcoin had a big day. We may or may not, it turns out, get Ether at ETFs. Say that 3 times fast. Apparently, a lot of people have moved up the likelihood of that happening. And before we do that, of course, Alex, I really want to know if you have Crypto Panic up, since Will mentioned Cardano. Is it trending?
Dude. No, listen to me, because this is the funniest day. Hold on. This is the funniest that it's been so far. So the trending section is just all up right? It's all green arrows. You might notice there's one little just like heavily downvoted trending story. So all of this is just about Ethereum, because I mean it's up almost $1,000 in the last 2 weeks. So that's insane. So you've got the SEC potential. We'll talk about that. Accelerated approval for the ETFs. You got all this ETF stuff. It's all Ethereum, Ethereum, Ethereum. Then this one just fucking story. Could Cardano be crypto's next big comeback story? And it's just like, dude, come on. It's not even funny anymore. It's just,
I don't even know how you call it a comeback. It's such a large market cap.
Right.
Even if it does actually like resurge, I wouldn't call it a comeback. Ugh. But hey, everything gets upvoted when markets get green.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. I did not realize that ETH was up so big. 29% on the 7-day. Bitcoin up 15% on the 7-day. And I was totally going to defer to you guys. Bitcoin dominance is something I have, I have to Google in terms of, I really don't use that kind of metric often. I hear people talk about it and it makes sense to me, but I figured you both, and I know Mack knows more about it, but Will, you watch the price of Bitcoin, you watch the ETFs. Is that something you're hip enough to give our people the TLDR, what it is, and why it matters?
Yeah, it's actually a chart I have open on my screen every single day. So where to start with this? So if you don't know what the Bitcoin dominance is the percentage of the total market cap, so the total pie of all of cryptocurrency, right? And it's the percentage of that is in Bitcoin's market cap, which as of right now is at basically 55% of all of the money in cryptocurrency is in Bitcoin. Now, as like an alt season, right? We all talk about an alt season, and a lot of people say it's an alt season, and it almost never is, right? It's just because like a lot of people said that like the end of 2023 we had like a mini alt season. It's not necessarily true. Just because a handful of altcoins go up doesn't make it an alt season. What makes an alt season is when you have a scenario when two things happen. It's when A, the price of Bitcoin is going up, but the Bitcoin dominance is going down. So what that means is that money is still flowing into Bitcoin, but now the rate at which money is flowing into every other altcoin, or at least the majority of altcoins, is at a faster pace. So, if we were to enter an altcoin season right now, you would see the Bitcoin dominance, which is at 55%, potentially fall down to 45%, right? Which means that the altcoin market is growing at a rate of 10% faster than, Bitcoin was at the time. But the thing is altcoin season, that only happens when the price of Bitcoin is still also going up. Because if Bitcoin goes up, altcoins go up. If Bitcoin goes down, altcoins go down too, for the most part, 90% of the time. So it's that unique scenario. And that unique scenario historically has always happened, and this is before the ETFs, right? So take this data, because ETFs have changed things. Take this data that I'm about to give you and say like, okay, things are a little different now. We're curious to see how things are going to change moving forward. But historically, after a Bitcoin halving, an altcoin cycle doesn't start for about 8 months after a Bitcoin halving. It's been true for the previous 2 Bitcoin halvings. The first Bitcoin halving, there really weren't many altcoins at all that in existence yet, so it's kind of hard to measure that one. So, but keep in mind that the ETFs have changed things. Like if the Ethereum ETF does get approved this week, or at the very latest, in my opinion, August, which is the final deadline for BlackRock's spot Ethereum ETF, that could change things because the first coin historically that has pumped to begin an altcoin season has been Ethereum because it's the number 2 coin. That might change. Like 2023 kind of kicked off a Solana alt season where Solana altcoins erupted and Ethereum was still kind of flat, kind of going up in its dollar valuation and going down in its Bitcoin comparison. So ETH to Bitcoin, it was going down. It's been going down for a while, but not recently, the past 48 hours. And so like in 2023, there was like a Solana alt season because money went into the Solana ecosystem and then that just kind of like sloshed around and went into a bunch of Solana alts. So now if the Ethereum ETF gets approved, I would imagine a lot of money is going to go to ETH. A lot of that money, though, is going to be, historically, if money went into ETH, it would then slosh around in that ecosystem. But with an Ethereum ETF, that's going to be harder because money is going to be in the ETF products. And so the total market cap of Ethereum will increase, but the total amount of money sloshing around the Ethereum ecosystem won't increase at the same rate.
Sure,
so,
because it's consolidated in this one product.
Exactly, yeah. It's consolidated in the ETF products as opposed to actually being on-chain. So that's going to be interesting because if ETH pumps because of the ETF, I would expect there to be less of an impact for altcoins in Ethereum's ecosystem to also pump. That'll still happen. But
Sure.
it won't be to the same effect as what we saw in Solana in 2023 because that wasn't fueled by an ETF. So I kind of hit on a bunch of different things. I know the question was really around Bitcoin dominance, but yeah.
No, that's a super helpful overview. And I don't even know if Wes is in here yet, so you might have to give it again. But I think so. My question from there becomes, what are you looking at in the short term or versus the long term? You kind of explained the long term, like what you expect historically, what you think is going to happen, based on the macro. But I don't know. Does it matter? Is it mostly a long term tool? I don't know. I feel like it's a tool I'd need to check today, 3 months ago, 3 months from now to get a bigger perspective.
It's a tool that, in my opinion, the shortest time frame that you should have on it is the weekly. The daily chart, I don't care. The hourly chart, absolutely worthless for the Bitcoin dominance. It's definitely a macro trend, not a micro trend kind of tool. So shortest time frame should be weekly. Monthly is also good. 3 months, I think, is a little bit too far. I mean, you can look at it if you like, but I think the weekly is kind of the most exciting, fast-paced. You should be looking at for the Bitcoin dominance.
Good to know. Okay.
I did have another thought pop in my head. Oh yeah, regarding Bitcoin dominance and the ETFs. So because there's only one ETF product out there for cryptocurrencies, maybe there'll be two. All right, we might get Ethereum this month or August, I think. That means that, and even if the Ethereum ETF comes out, the volume for the ETF is going to be far lower. It's going to be far lower than the Bitcoin ETF because it doesn't have staking in it. Now, that means that there's going to be way more money going into Bitcoin ETF, and that money will increase as we get into more and more of a heightened bull market, which does provide the argument of there being a possibility of us not getting an altcoin season. Like I see a lot of people, I don't believe this, by the way, but a lot of people say like the interest and the amount of money, like the size of the piping that the ETF has given via pensions, via mutual funds, via financial institutions. We have FASB accounting rules changing at the end of the year, which make it more attractive for businesses to then hold Bitcoin on their balance sheet. All this stuff. The money pipe that's being connected to these Bitcoin ETFs is so gargantuan that the Bitcoin dominance, in my opinion, is set to only rise throughout the overwhelming majority of this year, at least. And Bitcoin's growth should continue to outpace altcoins. I mean, it's just because the amount of money that's flowing into these ETF products is nuts already. Yeah. And it's only going to get crazier as the bull market kind of roars on. Now, that's what a lot of people say. I disagree with them. I've gotten into disagreements on TikTok on this topic.
Haven't we all?
Yeah, of course. Right, crazy. Because I still believe an altcoin season will absolutely happen because there's one constant that will always be in existence so long as humans are on this planet, and that is that human greed will always ultimately win out, which means that people will take profits from their Bitcoin and from even the Bitcoin ETF. Because, if you wanted to start an alt season, you bought Bitcoin and it was on Coinbase, you just sold it, and then you bought the altcoin on the same platform. With the ETF, you have your shares, you then have to sell the shares. It takes time to settle. You get your cash, you have to move to the bank account. It takes some time. You take that cash, you put it on Coinbase, and then you can get your altcoins. But that will absolutely happen. Maybe not to as high of a degree as if people were just buying on Coinbase, right, and swapping Bitcoin to altcoins. But people will absolutely do that because human greed is a thing, and people will always want to take profits and compound those profits on a little bit more of a risky asset, particularly if there's a trend in the market that says that this is something that historically happens. That trend data is in every single trader's mind, and it is a part of every single trading bot's algorithm. So I think that it will absolutely happen.
Okay, there's a lot of thoughts there. Alex, I've talked a lot, so I want to kick it over to you. I see everybody, contributing their perspectives in the comments. There's really good stuff coming up. What do you think, brother?
Yeah, so I was banding words back and forth in the comments there for most of that, but I don't know. I've taken a couple specific things away from all of this, I guess. First of all, the ETH news is definitely big, but I think the reaction that came of it, considering that it wasn't an actual approval and there is still like no guarantee that it's done, is the reason that I'm like, hey, listen, if you're up, take some fucking profit. Like, please sell something. Don't sell your whole position, but like cover your ass a little bit, because even if from here we maintain like, this level of this like percentage of likelihood that the ETH ETFs or whatever get approved in a timely fashion, people are going to get bored. Like this yesterday and the day before are not sustainable. Even if we're like still down. So if you take nothing away from this, just take that if your averages are lower and you're like big in the green, like take something off the table and cover your downside for when it inevitably corrects. So I've learned every time something like this happens, you have the thought in your head, like even after you've been doing this for years, like, oh, but what if that was literally it? What if it never goes down again? It will. Okay. It always does. Because there's other big news that was covered up in yesterday's stuff that never even got the airtime that it deserves, just because the ETH stuff was so gargantuan. But Martin Grunberg is like allegedly stepping down or is stepping down.
Is he like a villain in the next
he's
Pixar movie?
Yeah. He's just a stuffy old dinosaur that hates crypto, who's like chairing the FDIC or something. He's a big finance dude that everybody hates, who's into the future successes of crypto, Web3, all that good stuff. All you need to know about this is that both Democrats and Republicans are joining together in excitement that this guy is like winding down his career. So if that doesn't tell you something, and that that I barely even got. I saw like one article about it yesterday, just in the flood of ETH's prices up. So there's other stuff still going on, and I think all of that kind of contributes, because it's just when it rains it pours, and when the good news comes in, other good news like is just kind of a result of that first bits of good news.
Mm-hmm.
And then
agreed. It's hard to overcome the news of price went up.
Yeah, no, it really is. I mean, if you look at Crypto Panic today, there's always cool stuff. Like if you turn off the trending filter and you just read the full like raw feed, there is so much cool shit happening that just gets like no attention because ETH's price went up. I mean, everything's price went up, so that's a thing. But except even XRP put up a couple percent. So, that was definitely a good move. But
Bitcoin Cash goes up too. Bitcoin lifts up a lot of trash.
It absolutely does.
Bitcoin lifts up a lot of trash.
It definitely does. What's interesting though is that when we talk about like, okay, I hear the cringe before I say it out loud, so I'll explain. But this cycle's different. There are like
cursed words.
but there are like little things that change, as we evolve and mature as a space. And one of the things that I've noticed this time is that last cycle, when Bitcoin lifts up the trash, when the rising tide picks up all of the ships, there's a big discrepancy between the percentage gains that we mark on projects that have baggage. And last time, baggage wasn't as heavy. So the ecosystems that are just like so far this market have been underperforming or don't have any new big exciting stuff, and I'm talking about big projects, the Cardanos, the XRPs, the Polkadots, we love to rip on Multiverse X, but like that kind of genre of like the ones with the salty bag holders and the ones that like haven't really done anything to make us more excited. Yeah, I'm just noticing like a way more aggressive contrast between the gains that they'll print and the gains that the others. I mean, look at Solana. Solana's done almost 30% this week, and XRP, Cardano, Polkadot, they all did like 5 or 6, which 5 or 6 is not a bad return. But when you could have bought in Solana 2 weeks ago at 120 and sold it yesterday for 186, it's kind of. It's kind of silly to look at Polkadot doing 690 to 720, which
Alex, you just reminded me. There was a comment on one of my videos like a few days ago, and this guy was like, it was a comment like, oh, like here's my, it's like, hey, here's my bag. Like, what do you think of it, kind of thing. Which I get a lot of those. So I tend not to reply to them, and I typically don't remember them. But I remembered this one because it was like, oh, this is my bag, and it was like Cardano, XRP, Neo, and then like a handful of other like 2017. Oh, Engine Coin, like some 2017, some 2020 coins, and I was like, he's like, well, because they've been around for longer, I trust that they'll be like continue to be in existence, and I was like,
that was a narrative last bull run. I think that accepting that as the reality is very indicative of someone who only was here. And this is not to put anyone down or, say anything bad, but that is very much like you've only consumed the hype-based content for one cycle, and it was last time. Because there was definitely a narrative run last time where everything that had been through a bull run before and then survived the bear run, just still being there was looked at like, oh my God, they must have dominated throughout the bear market. No. Okay. Not true. And this time the same shit happened where like a lot of projects survived. You guys remember how many people last bull run said, 95% of crypto is going to die before we get to the next bull run? Guess what? Like 15% of it went away. If
they just went into a coma mostly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, they just went to sleep with all of their salty investors, and the companies completely stopped pushing the narrative forward and stopped doing stuff. And now everyone's like, well, when is my giant bag of, insert the name of a dinosaur crypto here, going to pump? No one new is going to buy it, and everyone who has it is just itching to sell. And they're just kind of trickling out overall. And maybe there's, some swing trades happening, maybe some funds are buying up some of the big ones or something like that. But like, that's definitely a narrative that was big last time, needs to die.
Yeah. This is going back to the conversation we were having earlier, but I think part of my brain was like a small hamster on a small wheel was still running with it, being like, no, Will, there's something else you should say about the Ethereum ETF. So Alex, sorry, I was absolutely listening to everything you said, but this one little hamster was still grinding on something. There's something else I want to mention about the ETH ETF.
Yeah.
And we gotten comments on it before where they're like, hey, what do you think the short-term price action of ETH would be if the ETF gets approved? They're like, would it be an immediate kind of dump kind of thing, like what happened with Bitcoin, buy the rumor, sell the news, and then it took some time? And I'm like, I don't know, and I don't think so, because this ETF is different. This round of ETFs is different from the Bitcoin one, because when Bitcoin got approved, there was like 6 or 7 ETFs that were all in the same deadline that all got approved together. And if Ethereum gets approved this time, it's just VanEck and ARK Invest, 21 shares. It's just those two, unless they decide to group more with it. And the reason why there was such an outflow with Bitcoin ETF when it got released is buy the rumor, sell the news, but more importantly, it was Grayscale. Grayscale's GBTC trust was turned into an ETF with a very high fee. A lot of people were in a ton of profit, and I think the high fee was also an incentive for people to sell. That's why we've seen outflows from Grayscale until recently, for the first like 2-3 months. But the thing is, Grayscale's Ethereum trust isn't involved right now as one of the ETFs get approved. So the Ethereum ETF could get approved, and there'll be a buy the rumor, sell the news event. But if the inflows are strong day one, it could either be up, or at the very least, the sell the rumor news is mitigated and then goes up until Grayscale has the opportunity to then switch their Ethereum fund into an ETF. And if they keep high fees, there's the opportunity where we see outflows there again. But the price action could be different this time, which would be nice from a pumpamentals standpoint. But yeah, so that was an extra thought I wanted to share.
Well,
Sorry,
sorry
for
Dave
changing
just said a lot of the money moves around in cycles, and the thing, Alex, your point is spot on in the sense that like we're just kind of adding more altcoins, meme coins. Nobody's really dying. And one of the kind of arguments that I personally have had about like, is this a bull run? People always ask, when's the bull run? When's the top of the bull run? That kind of thing. One of the things that's kind of making me think like, no, is all the dormancy. We got ETH in 2017. And then we got more altcoins. So really, like, it was that cycle to 21, 2, whatever. And then this kind of like last one here, it's just not enough data to really know like what's going to happen. There's so many more tokens. We're getting unprecedented products like ETFs, and they're bringing for the first time significant, at least in a long time, significant volumes of like institutional grade money to this space. I don't know. I really think that it's going to take some of those dormant coins dying for crypto money to move in a significant way. And unless the cycles stop, salty bag holders are just going to keep holding salty bags. And I think institutional money, which is obviously a bigger lever, is only going to move into products like Bitcoin or Ether, products that they can sell their clients. And so I kind of expect to see a lot of these companies. Cardano's well-funded, man. They're really not. XRP is probably not going anywhere. And by which I mean they're not going to go to zero, but they're probably also not going to the moon either. I wouldn't be surprised if we just continue to see a gap in like Bitcoin, Ether, and then a smaller surge of growth from tokens doing stuff for crypto people, in the base ecosystem, on Solana, obviously. But that there's going to be a kind of a gap as those other tokens become the darlings of institutions. And then I wouldn't be surprised even if some crypto people, we talked about this before, how great Bitcoin is, but how much already it's like the TradFi money system. 90% of the supply is owned by less than 10% of wallets. And not that 0.1 Bitcoin can't be life-changing for you in 100 years, but it's not, I don't know, as time goes on and these instruments continue to gain traction and volume and attention, it's not really like it's not what we came here to do. They might co-opt that narrative. So I think people will move away from it. I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't know.
So I think the gap between Bitcoin and Ethereum, assuming the ETF gets approved, right? Pretty much institutional cryptos and other cryptos, that gap will grow because it's happening right now in front of our eyes. Just go and look at the Bitcoin dominance chart. But altcoins will start to cut into that. And here's how I think. It's going to be two things. It's going to be whatever lowers the barrier to entry to actually get people on chain. And I think that's two things that's going to happen. One, it's going to be the Coinbase Smart Wallet or other similar products that take all the blockchain stuff, throw it into the background, and people go, oh, hey, cool, I can buy this crypto here. And then there's just like a button I press and I'm earning interest on this. And in the background, it's using, some lending protocol or something, right? And they don't have to worry about anything else to say their seed phrase, right? So then the gap between institutional crypto and altcoins will start to creep up a little bit. And the other thing is non-DeFi related products, which I think is going to be gaming. I think gaming has the best opportunity. When we can start to get people on chain, playing games with all the blockchain stuff in the background, and they're like, oh, hey, I'm playing this video game, and I'm earning money. Oh, hey, I'm playing this video game and I spent all this money on skins on my gun or my character or whatever. And actually, I can actually sell those on the open market and get some of my money back, lowering my total cost of ownership. Oh, this is great. And then more people will get on chain. And then you start to close that gap. But that gap only gets closed once we start lowering the barrier to entry to get people on chain, which is starting to happen this summer, which is cool.
Yeah. Let me ask you guys, can I've taken note of a couple questions in the comments, and we have, several of our longtime friends asking some really good questions that are adjacent or slightly different. I'm going to give these to you. I feel like the easiest one to tackle is a minute ago, Reed asked, what is a bot? And then I want to ask for Will's thoughts on Arrow and Base, since we're talking about it. And then let's talk about proof of history, because we've touched around Solana. Solana's obviously having some big activity. If you've got another question, you want to suggest a topic, let us know. Leave it in the comments. And also, if you're just joining and you're not hip to it yet, don't forget, check the link in our bio. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but you want to get in the Rise Up Discord. It's where the action's going down. I'm watching that over here. If you've got questions and you don't want to be frustrated by like character limits, you can't express it in 150 characters, you can leave it over there for us in the general chat. We'd love to have it. A bot, real quick. Alex, I would just say it's a piece of code that does something, but maybe you can give a more helpful answer.
Like the definition of a bot?
Yeah, because you mentioned a minute ago, I don't remember what the context was, but you were talking about bots, and pretty immediately someone came in and said, wait, what is a bot?
Oh. That's kind of like answering the question, what is code? It's a little hard.
I saw that question pop up after I mentioned trading bots.
Yeah, that's right.
So I don't know if that adds more context, Alex.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, in general, a bot is a program that is built to execute a specific function repeatedly. And you can set up the parameters however you want. Daniel, help me out if I flub this, but essentially, so in the context of trading, one might build a bot. Now, this is super simplified. There are more complex trading bots, but you could simplify and build a bot that just sells when the price goes up 5% and buys when it goes back down 10%. And it just does that over and over again, and it kind of swing trades for you. People have made very specific ones that you could like train on the trading patterns of famous traders. There are lots of bots built to emulate the stock trading habits of Congress people who trade with inside information, or famous Wall Street people. You could build one that trades on the moon cycles. You can do one that does whatever. But essentially, it's a program that executes a function based on the criteria that you tell it to do it. And you can just walk away and let it work automatically, and it will just keep going. And that's the point.
Yeah, very helpful. Machiste, I'm going to give you the TLDR before we move on. You missed it. We were talking all back and forth about the ETH ETF. If you want to catch it, we'll have the replay up at the end of the week. But our thoughts are, essentially that, I don't know. How would you guys summarize it? We didn't even really give a summary. For anybody who didn't see the news, Ether has surged in response perhaps to the news that recently the SEC has asked them to accelerate the schedule of providing additional information required to either, approve or deny the ETFs. The deadline is my birthday, Thursday. And so a lot of people in the crypto market saw it as very bullish that they were asking for this, even if it was a little rude that they only gave a couple of hours notice. And I don't know the whether or not it's likely to be approved. I don't feel comfortable speculating on it. Certainly seems more likely. But we kind of talked around it and talked around the market dynamics of it. I don't know if you guys have a TLDR for Machiste before we move on.
For ETH's approval odds, it's pretty much a coin flip in my head right now.
Yeah.
I think too. My guess, something that I will take a public speculation on, and maybe we can kick around a little bit. So we talk about, Hester wrote a phenomenal piece after the Bitcoin ETF was approved that one of the reasons she was so upset about the way in which it got approved is that it overhyped what should have been an automatic give me that investors were able to analyze and decide on the risk for themselves. And she said that the SEC created the FOMO and the the unhealthy hype around the Bitcoin ETF because they made such a big deal out of it when they should have just set out a list of parameters, taken applications from all these different companies that wanted one and said, yep, absolutely, you met the requirements. Here you go. Here's your approval. Instead of kicking them down the road for literally, what was the grand total that people were doing? It's been years. It's been literally, we've only been hearing about it for a little bit. Yeah. But like the first one came in years ago. So I think that once that started, and then that got approved, and we immediately started seeing Ethereum ETF applications. My suspicion, this is not really that bombastic of a prediction, but after that one, if it's approved, we'll just see a flood Solana ETF applications, right? Not necessarily anything destined for approval, or not necessarily anything that's guaranteed to go anywhere, but I think that people will apply for the big ones. There will probably be an application for some sort of blue chip fund that like trades in and out of, things with a market cap in excess of maybe $10 billion or something like that, and builds a fund that way. Or one that is just for, you look at like Solana and Polkadot both have a lot of venture capital money that have been behind them. You can look all that up on a website like Crunchbase, which I can put in the Discord. Although annoyingly, Crunchbase is really starting to paygate almost all of their information, which is really obnoxious. It used to have a ton of free stuff you could look up, but now you can't see like almost anything. So I think that that's what we're going to see, and I think that that's going to create just more hype and FOMO. So if something else like were to compound on the action that we're seeing now, I think that it's I'm just waiting to watch like BlackRock file a Solana ETF application because they know what it's going to do to the price.
Did you see Mashiste's comment? Yeah.
No, I missed it.
Mashiste said the Solana ETF gets approved. They can go down every day after 5 p.m. Eastern when the market's closed for maintenance.
Dude, that's one of the notes that I wrote down after seeing ETH's move yesterday. If that told me anything specific, it's that Solana is undervalued.
Totally.
Yeah, right.
Like totally.
Yeah, I don't think we see a Solana ETF for a long time, though.
No, I don't either. But
I don't think so.
But a girl can dream, and
ETF would be bullish for Solana. Big time bullish for Solana, but I don't think we're seeing an ETF until
4 years.
Yeah. But the thing that pushed me to say that it was Joe just shared it. So ETH literally added Solana's entire market cap in one candle. Sit down, the king is home.
Damn.
Yeah. I mean,
wow. Just put the hammer down. Jeez.
But that would bring me to the same conclusion you drew. I would absolutely say Solana, the numbers they're posting, they are the most used blockchain. The volume over there is bananas. The people who are continuing to develop and build and launch stuff over there, the only ecosystem I would bet on over Solana right now in terms of like who's building stuff or paying attention is Base, in terms of the people who matter. Thank you, John. Love you too.
But see, I want to just make one thing clear for anyone who's listening that may not have heard us talk about Solana before. We are all very aware of the technical shortcomings of the Solana blockchain and its habit to go down and experience problems. Okay. If you look at my content from 3 years ago, you will see me saying stuff like, why does anyone like this blockchain? It goes offline all the time.
I did the same.
I still think that that's
it's a valid concern.
It's not good. Okay. It doesn't like make me happy. But I have just observed over years of watching one thing to be true. No one cares. No one who's using Solana to do stuff cares. No one cares that it's centralized. No one cares that it goes down. No one cares that it gets congested and that their transactions fail all the time. No one cares. You can observe objectively without being emotional about it and see a couple things to be true. One, ETH starts to pick up. I did some stuff on ETH like a week and a half ago and I paid 21 cents in gas. You can bet your ass I'm not touching it right now because it's a waste of my time and my money because I'm not affluent enough to not care about ETH gas fees. And this is true all over the place, right? So no one who just wants to like learn about DeFi or wants to experiment or get some altcoins or like learn how to stake or learn how to liquidity farm, no one's going to go learn that on Ethereum. No one. No one's going to go like mint their first NFT collection on Ethereum because it's way too expensive. They're doing that on Solana. And who cares that the stuff like isn't going to go anywhere, or it doesn't work great, or it's not going to, it doesn't, whatever. It's fun. The experience is good. It's cheap. And if all you have to do is put up with a few technical difficulties every now and then, dude, I have Xfinity as my wireless internet provider, okay? My internet goes down every 6 hours like clockwork. So I'm totally fine with some network outages every now and then. If it's affordable, it eventually gets me where I need to go, and the user experience is good. So that's what I mean when I say like it's undervalued, because anyone who's entering, entering the Web3 space and wants to experiment, wants to like mess around and like learn how to set up a wallet and learn how to send some stuff around and learn how to stake and play DeFi and do all that kind of stuff, you can learn for the price of the money you're putting in. You don't have to worry about paying $200 in gas to do 5 transactions. And that's why they're doing it on Solana. And that's why I think Solana is undervalued, because it's, the term is a little cringe, but it's literally the people's network right now. That's where all of the everyday average people like me are messing around and playing with stuff, because I can spend a couple pennies, and Base too. Base is Ethereum's like salvation, in my humble opinion, right now, because it's turning Base into a Solana-like, Base is turning ETH into a Solana-like experience.
Big time. So let's talk about Base. Robbie specifically asked, Will, he wants your thoughts on Arrow, and we know you're very bullish on Arrow. But why do we like Base so much? Aside from the fact that, as you said already, Alex, they are delivering in terms of experience. It's all about the experience, and people use it.
Yep. So also, just guys, so everybody knows, I have hard stop at 9 a.m. I have work. Work. Disgusting. But so I first got really interested in taking a look at the Base ecosystem back in November of last year. And that's when I started exploring it. And the reason why is it lined up really well with one of my favorite investing strategies from the last cycle, which was, what coins is Coinbase Ventures invested in? Okay, these are the ones I'm really going to evaluate, because they're the ones that have financial backing from Coinbase. They're likely to be listed by Coinbase, all that stuff, right? Good reasons to have the price go up. And so I'm like, okay, Base is made by Coinbase. Who has more money than God in the crypto space to get developers, to get connections, to get partnership deals? Okay, if they built Base, there's going to be a larger team behind this layer 2 project to actually make something successful, useful, easy to use for the Ethereum ecosystem than anybody else. And also, Coinbase will make revenue off of this. They just IPO'd. They have even more money than God now. They're going to make sure this is successful. So I was like, okay, cool. Let me take a look at Base. And the first things that typically always get built in ecosystems are DeFi. So I was like, cool. Decentralized exchanges are the home of DeFi. What do we have? There was Aerodrome at the time, and then there was Seamless in November. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to dive into both of these. And I started evaluating from November to December the TVL, or the total value locked, or in other words, the total amount of money being put onto the DeFi project. And I tried to see which one was going to grow the fastest. And they were about the same. And then Aerodrome started to kick off and Seamless started to go down. And I went, first mover advantage. This is the one that's growing. There's no competition in the space. So I bought Aerodrome at 9 cents in December. For those sole reasons, this is the first mover advantage decentralized exchange in an ecosystem funded and supported by Coinbase. Money. You have my money. Like right there. That's the main reason why I bought. And then I bought, and then I went, cool, let me just make sure before I continue to buy, let me check out these other things. So the token supply of Aerodrome is inflationary. There's an unlimited supply to it. And so with a coin like that, you typically need to be very cautious, because the supply pressure will keep price down. So what you need is, if the supply is increasing, you need demand for the token to increase, to eat up that supply. And so then I asked myself, okay, if Aerodrome has the first mover advantage of a decentralized exchange on an ecosystem funded by Coinbase, how many users does Coinbase have? Millions. Are they financially incentivized to push those users onto Base? Yes. If they have any DeFi product, they're going to need a DeFi product that has a lot of liquidity, which is Aerodrome. So therefore, Coinbase will push users to indirectly use Aerodrome, and they have millions of users. So the demand should eat up the supply, which is why the inflationary supply doesn't really matter to me. And then also there are some tokenomic features that you can take your Aero and stake it and lock it up for 1 year or 4 years. That's a lot of supply being locked up off the market that could be sold. So these are the reasons why I'm bullish on Aerodrome. There is one coin, and I haven't made a video on this yet. There's another decentralized exchange that's getting a lot of growth. It's still very small, though. It's alien-based. I'm trying to see if there's going to be a natural competitor to Aerodrome. I've gone on Alien Base's DEX. It's really clean. I think it looks better than Aerodrome. It's not going to have the same amount of liquidity unless it really starts to eat up TVL at a rapid pace. But I think the first mover advantage for Aerodrome is there. And it's going to be the main liquidity-driven decentralized exchange used by other products that get released on Base and in the Coinbase wallet.
Good take.
Yeah.
I was looking to try and find some like historical data to support this claim. It honestly is tough to aggregate in one place, and maybe I can put it in the Discord server. But layer ones and first mover dexes like Uniswap, PancakeSwap, whatever. If you get in when it starts, you want to make sure they're not going to rug pull or whatever. But if it's a product and people are using it to trade NFTs, to trade tokens, whatever, there's volume there. Those have historically been some of the best, like, guaranteed returns in crypto. People always want to know, what do I buy? What do I buy? What do I buy? Get in a new ecosystem and see who's building infrastructure. Are people there? Are they talking about it? Every crypto ecosystem is gonna need a DEX. They're gonna need it. And the DEX needs a token to cover the cost of things like Bitcoin, because what's their token? It's Aero token?
It's Aerodrome. Yeah,
Aerodrome.
AERO.
But like the ticker AERO, yeah. So what they do, their whole job is to use this token so that when you come with Bitcoin and you want to turn it into Ether, they have Aero on hand that they use to facilitate all that stuff. They got Ether, they got piles of Bitcoin and other stuff too, but that's the purpose of that token, is they want you to buy it to give them the liquidity to do their job. And so if they have a lot of attention, they're going to need a lot of people to buy the Aero token. Any DEX, that is true. Jupiter is the other great example. Like, I think it's hard to find a better DEX in the game right now than Jupiter in terms of all.
Oh yeah, Jupiter's fantastic.
It's fantastic. The user experience is killer. I haven't personally used Aero yet, but you know the people over at Base are watching that and they're saying, how can we do this? Yeah, absolutely. Some of the best investments in my portfolio and that I observe across the crypto space are getting in early to different layer ones. If all you care about is making a profit in DEXs. But you got to know when to get out. Don't be tied to those bags.
Well, guys, my meeting just kicked off, so I gotta jump.
Okay, we love you. Come back if you can. If not, don't worry. We'll see you in the Discord. Thank you so much for being here, brother.
See you guys. Goodbye, everybody. Have a good time.
All right, that is everyone's cue to go over in the Discord and convince Will to quit his job. I keep telling him to quit his job, and he's like, "No, I need health insurance." And what a nerd. So there is so much stuff. I've written down a pile of notes.
Dude, me too. I feel like the first thing we need to honor is a question we got forever ago from Plyke, who's been with us for a while, is proof of history. Since we're kind of talking about Solana, we're kind of talking about Base. Do you want to put a pin in the Base talk for now and then go over some of your questions, and we can do proof of history too?
Yeah, I have thoughts about proof of history for sure. So that is one of the notes that I wrote down. So the number one concern with proof of history that I just constantly see is just like the hardware requirements. And I wish that I knew a little bit more about it so that I could say whether or not that's like super valid. I think though that just given the money in the Solana ecosystem, that if the more centralized hosting of that whole thing that exists, they can probably afford to upgrade their hardware. But I don't know. It has not, as far as I understand from following a couple big Solana developers on Twitter and kind of watching them when they talk about, like when the network goes down, one that I constantly talk about is 0x MERT, 0x MERT with an underscore. I'll put him in Discord. he does a really good job of being super objective. Like when Solana has a problem, he's like the first one out who's like, hey guys, Solana's broken. You can make fun of me today. Here's what we're doing to work on it. And I just think he does a great job of like not being biased and like admitting, you know, what the problems are and all that sort of stuff. He does a great job. But from listening to him discuss and talk about like things that have tripped up Solana, things that have contributed to the network outages or to the congestion and all that sort of stuff, he's never talked about the consensus mechanism being one of the limiting factors that's holding it back or doing anything. And I never really hear it discussed. I never hear people like really consistently talking about it being concerning or anything like that outside of like really niched down, super nerdy developer talks that I take one look at and I'm like, yeah, this is not my chat room. You know, I'm like sitting there copy pasting things into AI, like, please help me understand. So I did plug it into Gemini and just say, you know, like, hey, what are the long-term downsides of Solana's proof of history consensus model? Is there one? Paint me a picture. And it just gave me scalability challenges, which is, you know, kind of where we've seen like the storage issues and then the network congestion. Security risks, you know, which is the centralization concern, that you're putting a lot of stuff onto more and more central points of potential failure. And then hardware requirements. And basically what I think I would refer back to what I said earlier, you know, we are seeing time and time again, Solana experience issues and the general user base not really care. I mean, you guys recall what, like a month and a half ago when Solana for like 3 straight weeks was nearly unusable?
Totally.
And the price never suffered. It never went down. No one offloaded all their soul bags because of that, you know, and now it's up, you know, 80% in price from there. So I don't know. It's a weird both worlds here, because everyone who's got concerns and gripes and whatever, you're 100% correct. You're absolutely right. I share all of those concerns, but the general community and the market just doesn't care. And it's really interesting, and I think it really just speaks to kind of the strength of actual community and user experience over there, that people are willing to put up with the downsides and the risks, because right now it's getting the job done for them. And
I think it's like Facebook. Facebook is centralized as hell. Amazon, centralized as hell. But people use it because they're trading the security, the freedom, whatever, for convenience. Convenience and security. They always have that kind of relationship. And actually, I just want to back up really quick. If you're like new, I know we have a lot of people here who maybe are a little inside, but in case you're new, every blockchain, one of the cool things about blockchain is what's called a consensus mechanism. Alex likes to use the example that blockchains are like magic notebooks. Everybody who's on the network has a copy of this notebook, and what's magical about them is they can all talk to each other in such a way that if I want to do something in the notebook, you know, write down a piece of information, the magic updates everyone else's copy of the notebook based on what's already there. I can't, you know, fudge the record. I can't go back and erase it. The magic is checking everyone's copy. And a consensus mechanism is just a fancy $5 way to say the particular method of magic by which the notebooks are talking to each other, checking and updating the system. Some are more decentralized, some are more secure, some are faster, some are slower, some are cheaper, some are more expensive. And there are benefits and drawbacks to all of them. Like any medium, like language, where you could put words together differently depending on if you want to write a poem or a novel or just short, concise instructions. Different consensus mechanisms are like the rules of a game you can construct based on the kind of game you want to design. And Solana uses proof of history. And that's a cryptographic technique that allows you to verify a timeline of events just based on the previous transaction and its timestamp. Some blockchains like Bitcoin, they go through every single thing every time anything happens. So the older it gets, the longer the record gets, the more energy it takes, the more time it takes. And this is more like hey, I'm going to check what the most recent record said and then go from there. That's a very, very simplified way to explain it. Don't come at me in the comments, but the basic TLDR of why they do it this way is it reduces latency, it increases throughput, and right now, the concern is a lot of Solana's servers, a lot of their copies of the notebook are owned in a few hands. They do this because, when all the money is in one place, hypothetically, the information, the data, it's easier to, pick it up and do stuff with it. It's easier for the people who own that place to control it. Obviously, this makes it more susceptible to attacks, downtime, latency. But I'm not that concerned about it, because if it is a serious concern, then it's actually pretty easy for a network that's, growing still to, I don't know, they could lower the entry barriers. They could reduce the amount of energy or computer requirements. They could reduce the amount you need to stake, because there's some staking involved to participate. They could create some sort of community governance program. They could do all kinds of things to incentivize many people to come and validate transactions and host their own nodes and decentralize the network over time. Will they? I don't know. But like you, I'm just not that concerned about it right now. I am more concerned with, is our industry building stuff that actually matters, that people want to use, that introduces them to the benefits of blockchain. Once they get there, then over time, they're going to start to demand, products that meet their specific needs. They got to understand it first.
We talk a lot about that kind of stuff. I think my longer, which we don't have to get into right now, idea about properly furthering the maturement. What's the word I want there?
I know what you mean. Maturity, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, the rate of maturing of the crypto space, to focus and to also make room for stuff that does not have a strictly financial component to it. Uses of an NFT that have nothing to do with buying and selling and pyramid scheming your way to the top kind of thing. That right now there's just really no appetite for. I think that ultimately what it's going to take is probably a network like Solana, where just participating in the network, you have plenty of opportunities to make money doing this stuff, and you can also mess with this stuff. And I think that that's another one of the reasons that I like where Solana is going right now, because there's more people over there messing around with stuff that doesn't have a monetary component to it, at least in the same way that we're used to seeing. Like D-Reader, for example, is a cool comic book protocol platform. They make digital comics and stuff. And, they're not selling for tons of money. There's no crazy secondary market, but the people that buy comics from them and read them and whatever, they have a lot of fun and they enjoy it, and that's all that they care about. And that's awesome. So that's kind of one of those things I'm looking at. And I would push back a little bit on the claim that it's just because it's cheaper to use than Ethereum, because everything is cheaper to use than Ethereum.
Yeah, totally.
If you want to talk about a network where NFTs, little fun meme tokens or whatever, but where all of these things, like the user experience, the smoothness, the scalability, the cheapness, where all of these things are, look what the cat dragged in, but where all of these things are just really good, and brace yourself.
I'm waiting for you to say it, man. I know what you're going to say.
Multiverse X is as good as it gets, and yet it's being run by a band of nitwits that are just committed to driving it straight into the ground and just being toxic as hell.
Yeah.
And that's so unfortunate, because the tech over there is just, it's so good. It works so well, and yet they have nothing on the Solana community and the Solana ecosystem.
But that's the way it is. Somebody posted about Theta in the comments. From my eye, I don't participate in a lot of work there, but by my eye, Theta, Near, Immutable X, you name it. There are so many cool consensus mechanisms, blockchains, tech stacks that make things easy and fun to do, but they just don't have the same kind of attention. And I don't know, is it a great network? Probably, but who's building there? Who's paying attention to it?
See, it sounds rough to say, and I'm the one who cares, but it's a great network. It has cool stuff. Who cares?
Yeah,
no one. The general population right now just simply doesn't care.
I used to care. I want to address real quick before we welcome Mack to the stage. You asked about the Stellar ecosystem. It falls into that category. Only it's been around for a minute, so it's like one of those dinosaur tokens that people are like, "Oh, it's been here a while. Maybe I should buy some." The fundamentals look good. Maybe I should buy some, but I personally stay away from the Stellar ecosystem because there are other products, other places I like and love that do it just as well or better. And that kind of just the way they are over time, they've built their story. They attract a lot of really scammy stuff. There are a lot of people trying to scam folks in the Stellar ecosystem, feeding them misinformation and conspiracy. And I just want to decrease my surface area for an attack, so I don't hang out there. Mac, welcome, man.
Good morning, guys.
You trying
Apologies
to
on the tardiness.
sneak up on us with a koala or something? Is that what you're doing?
No. I'm just I'm in my kitchen and I got to make a protein shake, so I'll do my final review here in 2 minutes.
Hey, no problem. Well, while Will is coming back up, I just love it. Welcome back, Will, and everybody who's just joining us. Welcome. We're taking note of your questions. I know Alex has a list of them. You're in the right place at the right time to talk about crypto. If you've got a crypto question, be sure to drop it below. Alex, add M0 to your list. Someone asked about that. And then tell me what other kinds of questions you have. And before he does, real quick, let me just say one more time. For folks who aren't there yet, we just opened the Discord community. Totally free to check it out, drive around. We even have a premium section where we're going to expand the list of resources that we're offering. All kinds of cool stuff, which you can try for a week totally for free. My recommendation is, wait a minute, then get that membership, the free trial, and then steal all the stuff you can. And then, if you don't like it, just go back to the regular plan. Totally cool. Won't be sad about it. And subscribe to the Rise Up Morning Show newsletter. You can tap our faces or go to the riseupmorningshow.com to find all those links. If you have trouble accessing the Discord because the link doesn't work, just comment on one of our videos. It'll help us. We'll help you. And we'll all rise up together. Easy peasy.
Hey, I can't help but notice that all you guys have 100+ little stars. How does one get stars?
Well, Max, listen
You must
closely.
earn the heart and love of the people by throwing them games and giving them bread.
Oh, all right. Well, BRB, friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears.
The number one pro
Here you
tip
go.
there, Mac, is to get here at the top of the hour.
Yeah, you got to get here at the top
That's
of the
where
hour.
they pass out the most stars. Oh, look at me. I already got 2. Somebody gave me 2.
There it is.
That way.
There it is. Do you want the stars? That's so funny. Thank you for the gift, everybody. That's very kind of you.
Like an emperor being ridden through the streets of Rome with
Oh my
flowers
God.
being
My
thrown
stars are
upon
going
you.
Parabolic,
Yeah.
dude. I'm going to the moon with stars.
So, Mac, you missed us talking a little about BTC dominance. We talked about the ETH ETF drama. And then we've had some questions back and forth around other things. Alex got a list of questions. We're a little behind. So I was going to give him the chance to read some of these questions while you're getting your protein shake. But if you want to revisit any of those topics, I'm sure you have thoughts. Remind us and we will, okay?
Yeah, I mean, we can always talk about the state of the markets just pumping to Valhalla whenever you guys want. That's very exciting, and I'm curious to hear what you guys think, if it's actually going to get approved or not, or where the top is, the local top for Ethereum and Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah, in whatever order you prefer.
Local top. I think we're right at the local top right now at $71,311. It's just there's a nice line of resistance coming down from highs that we made on April 8th and March 14th and March 13th that we're right at right now. So a local top for today in the next few days. Of course, if we get the ETH ETF approval, if NVIDIA's earnings, I think, is really strong too. I think that'll have an impact on all risk-on assets. I think also just a good sign that the market's healthy.
Well, to be honest, I'm a little bit more curious about the ETH local top, because ETH is what led this rally.
Mm-hmm.
Let us take a look.
So it's at 37.70 right now, according to my computer screen, which I haven't refreshed in a minute. But I don't know. I think it's up 30. It's up 30% on the week. And if you're asking me what's it worth, or you're asking me, I don't think, unless we get some good news, the crypto people, I don't think are going to buy. I think they're buying the rumor, selling the news. That's what the crypto people are probably doing. And I also think that any kind of, bullishness from an approval is going to be reflected in maybe a little volatility. But I personally wouldn't be surprised if after the news settles, it goes back to 3 or something like that. I'm not saying I think it's overpriced. I think it's undervalued, but You know,
That's totally what I'm thinking too.
I-
I'm trying
I
to
see
get those
us-
things in my book.
Oh, I see us overbought right now on the stochastic RSI on the daily, but on the weekly, there's a ton of room to growth on these indicators. Particularly when you switch from the ETH USD to the ETH Bitcoin pairing too. So a local top, maybe we might be at right now, just about, but on longer for like the daily time frame, but on the weekly time frame, it looks like there's much more room to run. And then it'll be interesting to see if the Bitcoin dominance chart can actually fall. Maybe the Bitcoin dominance is kind of sitting at support right now, so we'll see. I was curious to see if some Bitcoin liquidity might be looking like it could flow more into ETH, but it still looks pretty strong at the moment.
Crypto TikTok says fibs on Bitcoin says 87K, and like I'm not a big prediction guy, but all the information I'm consuming, at least like in the last couple months, that's kind of what I'm looking at. And I don't know if I call it the bull run, I don't know if I call it the big top, but I would not be surprised to see eventually somewhere in the not too distant future. I mean, it's not done, obviously. I would be amazed if it went above, I don't know, 120,000, 110,000. I would be like, wow, this is great. I would be taking profits and then expecting to buy a dip.
Evan's hot take: Bitcoin goes above 110, and Evan's like, "Wow, that's great."
It's hot.
Do you guys ever listen to Invest Answers on YouTube?
Yeah.
Yeah. He has a really interesting data model that he's been continuously running and tweaking of like what happens if all the major funds basically allocate 1%, 2%, 3%, basically up to like 6% of their fund into Bitcoin,
Okay.
and what impact that should have given the available supply. And it's the numbers are crazy. I look at the numbers that he gives and I'm like, these are hopium numbers, but like he is backing it with a math that does seem to add up. And he has numbers that's like, if every fund puts in 3%, it's like a $400,000 Bitcoin by like the end of 2025 or something like that. So there are some interesting numbers. I do take them all with like a grain of like hopium salt for sure. But because pretty much I'm on the same boat as you, Evan, where it's like, if I see Bitcoin above $110,000, I'm like, I'm fucking pumped. I'm starting to sell some altcoin bags for sure. Little bits and pieces are starting to come off, and as we get up to like 150, more and more bigger chunks are leaving my bags and going to my bank account or going into USDC and all that kind of stuff. But
Will, what's that creator's name? You said Invest what?
Invest Answers. He has I think about like 500,000 on YouTube. He also works. He does a lot of collaborations with like Ivan on Tech and this other guy. He's a European gentleman. He's like a very technical like CTO background for a bunch of companies, but his stuff's good.
He's one of the first content creators in the crypto space that I ever followed, however many years ago that was. He's been making YouTube videos for a long time, and he's just I was just seeing some stuff. Someone on Twitter was roasting him, and I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I've never taken financial advice from him, but I've learned a lot over the years. And he chimed in and just, he was very polite about it. But he's pretty big. He's definitely but he's been cranking out shit for 6 years. So
well, and I think to Mack's question, like the bigger thing I want to emphasize to people is like
CTO Larson. That was it. Yeah.
Oh, CTO Larson is you can make money whether the market is going up or down, whether Bitcoin is moving or the alts are moving. The important thing is to just pay enough attention to develop conviction and then proceed accordingly. You might not be, doing Mack's thing and moving into leverage trades. You might not be doing what I recommended and looking for the new L1s and leading DEXs. You might just be dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin or just watching and learning without spending any money yet. Like all of those things are different investments you can do to gather conviction, because what I do, what Alex does, that's us. Your strategy is your strategy. You got to have the conviction and you got to play around, poke around a little bit to figure that out.
Yeah, and the main reason I was asking too is because, like the Bitcoin ETF approval, it was a run up and then it was kind of a pretty big drop, precipitous afterwards. So I'm actually probably looking to sell an ETH or so, and just get as much bang for my buck. I was thinking about it last night, but then I was like, I think this still has room to grow. So now I'm just like, man, are we there? You know?
That would be me too right now. I mostly move Ether to do stuff, and so like the bag I have is mostly a functional bag. But if I was, swinging around, this would be my sell the top moment and wait for a rebuy kind of thing.
That's really how I'm making decisions right now, and have been for a while. Is like I find myself buying crypto that I want to use, and that being pretty much my entire focus. I mean, I agree with Daniel. I've got my Bitcoin and Ethereum. None of that's changed. And then I just buy Solana because that's where all of my attention is. I have ETH and I can do stuff on Base with it. I have Solana and I can do stuff on Solana with it. And then anything else that I've added besides those two things has been for less of the investment potential and more of the fact that I want to use it. Solana is both. Solana is just crushing. So that's probably an easy one. But Mack's gonna laugh. I have Polkadot because I want to vote in the auctions in September, not because I think that it's gonna make me a millionaire, but because I'm like, you know what, this is cool. I appreciate the DAO-ness of all of this, and it's not enough to do anything impactful with, but I want to put my name on the thing, and I want to be on the ledger as being someone who voted in the auctions.
Dude, if I could count on my hands how many times I've used my crypto to vote for governance, then I wouldn't need hands.
For me, it's 2, and I don't care about 99% of it. I mean, I have videos about that, how just no one cares about DAO voting, and I'm so not bullish on DAOs when the idea of it is governance, because the stuff that should be a DAO is your public library and the farmer's market. You shouldn't be, no one's getting rich in a DAO if it's done right, in my opinion.
No, but I'd still need I would need pretty much everyone's hands, honestly, truly. And most of it is is exactly what you said. I just want to tell the story on chain when people look back and be like, who is this Evan Man motherfucker? He was really into this thing, wasn't he?
Yeah, I voted once on Polkadot. It was to have what was it? It was Engine's sister coin be approved in that parachain. EFI, that was it, Efinity. And then I do vote every single vote in Jupiter, because Jupiter actually gives rewards to voters. And so I was like, oh, damn, this is great. And you can get access to these coins and this other stuff. And also there's another Jupiter airdrop every single January for Jupuary. So I was like, cool, I want to be an active voter to get reward on this. So I'm voting on Jupiter every single vote that comes around. And there's another one that comes around tomorrow. So I'll be voting on that too. But yeah, otherwise voting in a DAO, I'm like, I don't care. But Jupiter, really good rewards. And I was a big Engine fanboy. It was my first 100x. So I was like, I'll support your project forever.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, especially if you capitalized on it and took some profits when it skyrocketed. Because I mean, I remember the Engine run last cycle. That was a good one. I loved Engine at that point. And then the sad fact of the matter is that they've just been absolutely lapped by everyone else in that niche since then.
Honestly, I was just gonna say maybe we should have just a quick moment of remembrance for all of the really promising gaming blockchains that have since fallen. I've been hearing a lot of shit being talked about Gala recently.
Oh my god! Well, did you see why?
I heard they got hacked. I haven't checked the price.
$200 million.
Yeah, but Ronan got $600 million, and look at them.
I mean,
but Gala has almost. I'm gonna incur some wrath maybe, but Gala has nothing going for it, and their chief of personality, their chief vibe officer just quit. So and I know there's a lot of drama.
The lawsuit.
You guys know who.
Once the lawsuit happened all those months ago, I was like, oh, cool. I'm never gonna pay attention to this project ever again because the leaders are infighting, so I'm good.
What do you mean what lawsuit? It's like a drama fest. It's worth a quick Google and a read. Basically, the two founders have a serious squabble. It'd be like if you and me and Alex made $1 bajillion trillion and then one of us bought private jets and a tiger and whatever, pieced out from the company kind of thing. It's like that kind of a legal battle.
I remember that.
entertaining. There are so many good movies about crypto waiting to be made. I just hope you guys are going to like refer me when producers call you and be like, Evan should play. I probably shouldn't play Zach's BT. That's probably somebody who looks nerdier than me. I don't know what he looks like, but you know what I mean? Like there are going to be so many good movies about crypto in the future.
The funny thing too is that what conference were we at when Ronan got hacked? Was that NFTLA?
No,
Yeah,
it was.
in LA. I remember getting the message.
It was in Miami.
It was.
I think it was LA, dude. I'm pretty sure it was LA because I wasn't there.
Was it LA?
I swear to God, I remember you guys going there and having FOMO and being like, "Oh man, they're in LA together. LA is so cool." And then Alex texted about it.
It's Hollywood.
Right. Brad Pitt's there.
Yeah, I'd have to check the photo album because I do remember Mac and I sitting in the audience watching that man take the stage after getting hacked for $600 million, and he did his presentation and he left.
That was honestly so cool. Like, yeah, if for those of you guys who didn't know, the CEO was scheduled to give a talk about Ronan, and like less than an hour before he goes on stage, he finds out that he just lost $600 million, which is just a Herculean effort.
Top of the timing.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't write that.
I was like, God damn, this guy's a fucking man right here. 600 million? That's nuts. But they're crushing it, right? I don't know where that came from. I mean, I guess a lot of that was just like Axie profits, but damn.
I mean, yeah, the one nice thing is that it wasn't like their entire network that did it. It was like a big bridge exploit. And then
always the bridges, guys. Always be careful of bridges.
It's always the bridges. But I mean, since then, like, you know, with the big pivot to focusing more heavily on Web3 gaming, they were like front running the progress, and they just got a bunch of shit done. And Sky Mavis has been really making shit happen over there. I mean, some of their people are super active on Twitter.
That's them.
And they're the only people right now, at least in my opinion, from what I've seen, that are even remotely tangling in the Avalanche playground. And everyone else is just getting dusted by those two.
Yeah. Mahir actually did a really good write-up for the newsletter a couple weeks ago, and I can't remember. I think it was Pixels or something like that, and it was a particular project, like research deep dive, but some of the context around it, revealing like who is funding what in the gaming space, and how similar a lot of it looks to, you know, like the Axie Infinity days. I don't know. It's a lot of the same people. It's a lot of the same money, or just the money they made going into, you know, these kind of new projects. And to your point about like Gala, they just can't catch a break. We got Arcade, we got Games GG, we got a whole new swath of stuff coming. Avalanche is big time stepping up. I don't know. I think
there's just no.
Beam's great.
Yeah, I mean, that was the other purchase I made. Was I got Avalanche because I knew that there were going to be games I wanted to like play with. Definitely Beam, that I wanted to like get exposure to. I downloaded Shrapnel. I have that one. There's a couple others but all of them are Avalanche related. So I wanted exposure to that. That's why I got it. It's, you know, it is up.
Yeah.
I think I caught a nicely timed purchase on it, but
one question that I've been meaning to do my own research on myself, I'm curious if you guys have dived into it, is why has Avalanche kind of become this mecca hub for gaming? Is it because of Merit Circle DAO? Is it entirely because of their influence? Because it's really just Avalanche and Immutable X as like the monopolies in the space, it seems like. And there's some games building on Solana. Like they started with Star Atlas. I would have thought that like more people would have kind of copied that, but it's been Avalanche and Immutable X.
Star Atlas looked so fucking cool when it came out.
Yep.
I remember how excited you were about the trailer.
Yeah, I was like, yo, and their website. That was the first time I'd ever seen one of those Infinity websites where like you're looking at it, and as you scroll down, you go like deeper. Explore the planets. It was fucking sick. But yeah, I would answer, Alex. I think you probably have a different answer, maybe the same. But I would say that it's just because of the way their subnets are set up. I think make it super easy to kind of like own your own blockchain. And I don't know if the dominoes started falling and then it brought other, companies on board. But I know they had some games lined up before the whole Beam thing came out. but then
So,
help
but real quick though, I want to add into the conversation Polygon. I don't know if you've been to Games GG lately, but they have one of my favorite like sidebars that allows you to sort games by like, is it playable, is it beta, is it alpha, and what chain does it live on? And the number one network for playable games is Polygon, and I feel like I never hear their name in that conversation.
Because it's not about playability, it's about whether they're bullshit or not. And because Gala has had playable games long before any of these other ones did, but none of them were like anything to write home about. None of them are games that you're like, God, I can't wait to get home from work so I can sit down and play this. And the first games that people actually have like that sort of a feeling about are the big ones that Avalanche is working on, the big ones that are, elsewhere. And I'm trying to think, gun to your head, name a handful of Polygon or Gala games, and like Spider Tanks, one where you drive a rover around Mars and collect resources. Like they were all just Ponzi-nomic, farm my shitcoin with this like shitty game interface kind of thing. And then, I don't know, just none of them, like you don't watch any of them and you think like, yeah, I would really like to play that. And I just saw one of the bigger streamers who is like super into Web3 was talking about yesterday. He's like, the one thing I'm waiting for is a game, that gives you that feeling of like, I'm pissed that I'm not playing it right now. And so far, really no Web3 games have like nailed that. But there's a few that are like on the horizon that could do that. Like I think like Shrapnel could grow a big enough community to be fun and have enough people on it to make it good. I would put Wilder World in that same kind of category too. They just like, it was very promising, and then it just didn't really do that much. I think they may have tied their wagon a little too strong to the metaverse world, and then never really come back, from that. Never like they didn't get off that horse quick enough, and I think they kind of went down with the ship a little bit. At least that's my perspective from like looking in from the outside.
Metaverse is kind of a dirty word, like NFTs now.
For sure.
Yeah, it is.
For sure.
Yeah, a lot of empty promises.
I mean, the fact of the matter is that we've had the metaverse for so long. I mean, I don't have to tell you guys that RuneScape is one of the best metaverses of all time, and it didn't need a shitcoin to make it popular. And none of these new ones can hold a candle to World of Warcraft, to RuneScape, to Dungeons and Dragons, to like any of these other things that have way better functioning virtual worlds that you can role play. I mean, Elder Scrolls, Elden Ring, like give me a break. These things are above and beyond what any proposed metaverse was ever.
The idea of a metaverse though is so fascinating to me because I always think of it from a sales and marketing perspective. Like if the metaverse is real and there's a real place where people congregate online and have fun, that is like a completely new marketplace for you to sell shit. If you think about shopping malls in, America or Dubai or whatever, what do you see as you walk down? You see advertisements, right? So it makes no difference if they're in the real world or the virtual world. If people are walking by and seeing advertisements, advertisements?
There you go. It's a big word.
Ads. I'm off if I say advertisements. But if they see these things, then that's a way. That's an economy that you're creating. The people can buy those ads and they can try and sell those wares. So that I always think of it as like a completely new frontier. Like you have customers in it, like Nike and a lot of the big what's it called, designer brands who are trying to get in on this. Like Louis Vuitton and Chanel, because like why do people buy those kind of brands? Because they want to show off. So it makes no difference whether you're showing off in person and, you don't have that many people to see, on a daily basis versus if you go in the metaverse and there's 50,000 people digitally all around you, then it's the same concept. So I think that the metaverse will happen eventually. It's just like we need those Disney Omni treadmills to like become commonplace. VR and any kind of like haptic suits, those things need to go up. Basically, just everything that happens in Ready Player One.
Yeah, we need Neuralink.
I think it's going to happen.
I mean, that's what people expected, right? Like, Bored Ape Yacht Club announced a metaverse, and everyone immediately has visions of Caprica and Altered Carbon, and obviously that was never going to happen, like anytime in the next 20 years. And when it was just like a shittier version of The Sims, they were like, oh, rip, and then everyone moved on comfortably, and it turns out that's all it was. I mean, I think you didn't care about the graphics. I mean, Mac. How much have you ever cared about the graphics in RuneScape?
It's not just the graphics; it's the sound effects, it's the background music. It's all made with like a fucking 8-bit,
And yet, hundreds of millions of users still to this day, like still popular, still being played, still growing. Like, despite all.
I want to say something about the metaverse and crypto because Daniel had a comment about how the metaverse doesn't need crypto. And I want to be clear, absolutely nothing needs crypto. But the whole reason I would say the metaverse, if it's going to become what we want it to, needs crypto is because we need permissionless, censorship-resistant ability to share information with each other. And the only thing that does that is crypto, specifically a decentralized cryptocurrency. Like, I heard someone give the take the other day. This is Eric Voorhees, Bitcoin OG. He was talking about the need for crypto and AI to come together, not with a BS token, but verification, provenance, security, privacy. Is because if you proposed cash today to like Congress, like if we didn't have it, do you really think they would approve that? Permissionless money that they can't control, that they can't totally censor? Absolutely not. It would get immediately shot down. But that's why it's so necessary. Whether we're talking about AI, we're talking about money, we're talking about the metaverse, it is, I think, a necessary thing that people have the ability to, if they want, be private, be free to move about. And the only thing that's going to do that in a digitally native way is crypto, not just currency, but NFTs, a blockchain ledger that is owned and controlled by the users, that kind of thing. So I think if the metaverse is going to be what we hope it will become and not some dystopian 1984 thing, it's got to be crypto. It's got to be. Just got to be.
But I think, Evan, you probably can see that doesn't necessarily mean, and I don't disagree for the record, but obviously that doesn't mean that every metaverse that launches needs to make its own shitcoin to go along with it. Like it would be way more impactful if it, built in an ecosystem that had attention, that had users, that had purpose and reason, and just used that, which is, I think, one of the reasons that Base is exciting, because look what happened.
Yes. Base's token is Coinbase's stock.
Yeah, exactly.
I think what's going to end up happening,
I want to go on the record and say this. For the record, when I say crypto, anybody listening anytime, I am not talking about number go up money tokens. I'm talking about blockchain. I am mostly talking about the ways people have not thought to use it yet. Money is a notorious case. It's so good. We appreciate what crypto will do for money, but it is going to be so much more than, if you understand one thing about crypto, that's like long-term, just that's it. It's a new medium. It's like language. Most use cases, they haven't even been invented yet. It's going to change everything. And most of it is going to have this much to do with money. But by understanding that, you will make so much more money. Maybe not in the short term, but I promise you, think about it that way. And don't come at me when I say it needs a crypto, because I ain't talking about a token. That's my rant. I'm done.
Well, the thing is metaverses, when they do get built out and they're cool and they're useful and they have these economies that people can go in and set up their own businesses and make money and all that kind of stuff, right? Which I think is great. I think the reality of the scenario is that the coin that gets used for a transaction isn't some decentralized coin. It's going to be USDC or some stable coin equivalent tied to the dollar. For a while. So you have the stablecoin bill in the Senate right now, right? And let's see what kind of comes of that. But I think the government is incentivized to give the thumbs up to stablecoins, because stablecoin issuers have become some of the largest. I think they're like top 15 largest buyers of U.S. Treasury, U.S. debt. And you have China buying less debt. You have all these countries buying less debt. But you have stablecoin issuers who, if they can get some regulatory approval, to operate, the billions that make up stablecoin market would go to trillions, most likely. And then you have a stable currency. We all know the dollar gets inflated like every other currency, right? But stable, because in the eyes of us, because every cryptocurrency's pairing is paired against the dollar. It'll get approval to use. There'll be less regulatory concerns about using USDC as compared to a decentralized cryptocurrency by a company who is trying to build out a metaverse business. And I think that's just what the ultimate reality is going to be. It's not going to be a decentralized cryptocurrency that is the go-to form of payment used in the metaverse, used in international settlement. I think it's going to end up being the digital dollar, just not from a central bank digital currency, just in the form of like a USDC or a Tether, some kind of equivalent. I think that's ultimately what the reality is going to be. Because it would be great for everything to be decentralized, but for a decentralized cryptocurrency to be the main go-to, I just don't think the majority of people care about decentralization, even though they should. I just feel like people are like, cool, what's that? The dollar? I use the dollar today. This is like the digital. Cool, I'll use that. It's fast, it's easy, it's cheap. Great. Boom, use. So I think that's ultimately going to be the reality.
I mean, it's one of those things. We've had a CBDC for 50 years. And, if people, every time I see someone make one of those videos fear-mongering about the incoming CBDC or the dangers of what they'll be able to do with it, pause it, freeze it, withdraw it from your account without your permission, cut you off, force you to spend it by a certain amount, put taxes on stuff, or put you in prison. Like, you're literally describing exactly how the dollar works right now and has worked for decades. There's nothing about any of these CBDC fear-mongering tactics that are not exactly what it is right now. All of that stuff is they track everywhere that you're going. Credit card stuff is all reported straight to the government. They can turn it off. They can force you to spend it by a certain amount of time or it expires. Like, just because they don't do it doesn't mean they couldn't. And
cash though.
No, yeah, cash is the exception, and cash is still that like peer-to-peer transfer medium. And so in a world where it's just like harder and harder and harder to do that, it makes sense that like the fringe of the cash community would probably be more incentivized to move over to some sort of tokenized thing that they still don't need, the big banks and systems for. But I mean, just like cash, I can't tell you how many businesses now that I walk around and see and stuff where they, I'm not talking about big stores, but like the small, like little tiny stores that just straight up don't take cash. And
I think what I'm getting at though is that like you can do stuff with. Humby wanted to come by and say hi. She's wearing her dinosaur rainbow shirt, which is one of my favorites.
That's awesome.
That like with CBDCs, you can track every destination that crypto goes. With cash, you can't. Like, I always think it's funny that people are like, "Oh, Bitcoin and crypto is used to buy drugs." It's like, dude, I would buy cash to buy anything illegal. I use way more political than crypto, right? That's my only point. That, like, cash is harder to trace, and
So we got some echo coming in from Evan's side.
Evan, I don't know what you're doing over there, but
Evan, cut it out.
What am I doing?
You're rugging everyone.
I'm trying. Hang on.
Your picture is black and all of our sound is echoing through the...
Oh my God.
And the official Rise Up morning show fundraiser to get Evan a phone for the 21st century.
Get Evan a new modern phone.
Okay. So yeah, that's my only point. That like I understand that if you're using a bank or something like that, the government can completely seize your funds. They have a pulse on you with relation to tax and everything like that. But I still know a lot of people. Evan's going through it, but can you guys hear me?
I can hear and see everyone, but I think the audience is getting some interruptions right now.
If you can hear us, oh sorry, dude.
My stream just cleared up, so I think I'm back for good.
I think
audio is fine. Okay, all right.
Evan, don't move. Okay, don't.
Yeah. Hey, let me just finish this goddamn sentence. The only thing I was saying is like, I knew like when I was selling pianos, right? Like one of my customers was making like millions of dollars because he was in weed. He was selling cannabis out in California. But he tried to finance his piano, and when we looked it up, his tax returns only said he was making like 32 grand a year. Yeah. You can't do that with CBDCs.
No, I vividly remember the first time I met a legal weed dealer who was growing and distributing, and yeah, on paper he was worth like next to nothing, but he would buy like a new car every month, all in cash in an envelope. And I was like, "Are you just pretending to be Pablo Escobar out here?" And he's like, "Dude, when in Rome."
Yeah.
And,
I mean, yeah. You're like, don't worry, the hippopotamuses show up next week.
Yeah, right. And my tiger. Yeah.
Yeah.
all right. Anyway,
Okay,
we're
he's going away.
Yeah. What'd I miss?
Bye. Bye, everybody.
Hi, baby girl. Did she say daddy just a second ago? Is she talking to you?
She's got 4 words. They are ba, ma, da, and ga, and she uses them interchangeably.
Wow.
Ba, ba.
and Alex. I think that was her.
And Alex.
Yeah, she rocks to that accent. Yeah.
Here's my
Guys, she's
Okay,
just
puppy.
stupid cute.
Yeah,
You
thanks.
say bye bye, Dada.
Oh.
You got nervous? Okay.
Bye-bye.
I've noticed that she is. She spent a little bit more time smiling that time, and a little less time like eyeballing all of us. Just
Yeah.
with that.
Last time she
She's
was
the
like,
most skeptical baby I've ever seen in my life. Like every time I see her on webcam, she's always just like,
Yeah, she has her father's discerning wit. So
Ben says, enjoy this stage. It flies quick. It seems like just yesterday. It was about a year ago, almost now, that we got the alert. We were planning on coming, and Gia said, "Skip the baby shower. I'm here, man."
yeah, I know she rugged us all. That was the first rug pull she pulled on me. So 3 days before her baby shower, where like all my friends were flying in from out of town, she decided to be born. So
Man, it's all right. That's the best
she's good. She's chunking up. She's very chubby now, which is great because she was born super early. So everything is good now. Yeah.
I remember vividly the first picture you sent. I think it was her hand in your hand, and it was just like, it was alarming how small it was.
Yeah, she was tiny, man.
She was born 3 pounds 11 ounces, and now she is 18 pounds and 38th percentile for weight on the full term scale, not even the preterm. For preterm, she's like 68. So
What a chungus.
Man.
yeah.
We saw somebody join the stream the other day whose name is Gigi Chung, and I thought it was a pseudonym for I don't know, like Gianova Rose, Gigi Chung, because Chungus.
Chung without the us though sounds a little bit phallic to me. I don't know about you guys, but
Yeah.
No. Gigi Chung just sounds like a Gen Z, like East Asian heritage journalist name
yeah.
on NPR. I'm Gigi Chung. This
Specifically NPR. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Can I ask you guys? Can I speedball a speedball?
Yes.
I think that's a drug. Can I
It is.
speed round?
Absolutely.
It is. Alex knows all about it. I'm trying to. So I messaged in the chat the other day. I was like, what if? Let's just say, what if I created a meme coin, right? And
Oh my God.
yeah, I know. Just to live a little, just to feel something, because obviously I can't promote it because that would be promoting a security, and the SEC may or may not come after my ass depending on how big I
Calling our
can.
lawyer.
But you could create a coin, and I wonder if you could almost like tongue in cheek do the inverse and say like, listen, don't buy this coin, and like actively advocate that it's not going to go up in value, and then just put a little baby on it, There's cats, there's cute dogs, and then there's I think there's a corner in the market of babies that hasn't been hit yet.
And then just scream to the rooftop that it's a joke and the value will go down. It's designed to crash. Like just hit that hard.
Well, I was
every
actually
time.
thinking of making it like a DAO mechanic where like the idea is like you buy when she's cute and or a baby, and then the idea is to sell before she grows up or before she becomes not cute, and like every week the community votes on if it's cute or not, and so it's this like gamified like, oh, she's still cute, we're gonna pump, you know what I mean, or oh, she's falling off, I think we're gonna like
I'm just imagining like your daughter in her teenage years like pulling up that price chart and being like, that's when I became ugly.
Yeah.
It's your fault,
As like
Dad.
red candles kind of come in.
Everything about this is fucking terrible, just to be clear.
Well, and it is still illegal. Like, if you tell people
It's-
don't buy this, but it's your platform, you're advertising it, you're talking about it, there's definitely legal precedent for people who have been found guilty of like market manipulation.
And
Even though what they were doing is reverse psychology.
I did specifically ask one of my attorney friends about that reverse psychology thing, and it's still very much considered to be manipulation, because there's the inference that any reasonable human being would take from looking at a platform of X caliber and size, and it's still like, it's like I always say, if all they have to do to come after you is just hold their phone up in court and play your content, and they don't have to speak, the prosecutor's going to annihilate anyone that they get.
But here's what about this though? Let's help our brother out. Okay, so you, I don't know if you saw the crypto chaos one. You know, the SOBA happened, then crypto chaos, and his whole approach is like he's leaning into the like, fuck it, no one's going to get arrested for this, and that is not necessarily true. You shouldn't do it, but like it may be true in 10 years that the SEC's got too many fish to fry. They just never get around to it, even if they have grounds to do it. But let's assume they do. Why don't we just draw straws or figure? I mean, you got a baby, and you know there's somebody out there surely who's got an audience that could be that guy who's gonna go to jail for, and then we'll bail him out, or we'll just send him really nice gifts in prison, and we'll make up for it if they get arrested.
But
We
here's
think
the
we
thing:
can write up a contract for it.
it's not a. It depends on the charge, because I don't think that they put you in prison. I don't know if can the SEC put people in prison? I guess. Okay, scratch that question. I think the SEC can put you in prison for things like fraud, but
They
not
can bring you to court.
unregistered.
They bring you to court, and then that's it. The SEC doesn't have any authority to give you jail time. They just shine the light on you, basically.
Right, and they show up with their ethos and their reputation in front of a judge and argue for why that judge should, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's prison or jail.
I don't
or
know.
what.
My two schools of thought are either you don't like, my platform isn't big enough to attract the attention of the SEC. I don't think, unless I directly, make Gary or one of the people mad. But like, I'm not one of these, BitBoy, Scott Melker types with like 1 million plus following,
Yeah, but
and even them, they haven't been pursued by the SEC. They're going after the massive whales like Sam Bankman-Fried and CZ.
I think it's just a matter of time, though. As more time goes by, they'll start looking. And as Alex said, just like, oh, it's 10 years later, and they go, oh, hey, we need some lawsuits we can win. Let me just go, boom, you, and there could be things from 10 years ago.
True, but then it becomes, how much money did you make and how much are the legal fees going to cost? Because remember when we had this talk with our lawyer, Alex, about, because when we did the NFTs, our whole thing was like, okay, let's do this by the book and let's not make it a security, because we don't want to, be caught in this, this witch hunt that will inevitably happen. But then we realized that like the only real fee is that you just have to like refund the American buyers and who were buying these securities. So a lot of people did very anti-SEC things by saying you can get this return, or you can this coin will definitely go up, and they aren't going to get penalized for it, especially if they're not based in America. So I don't know, I wonder like the pros and cons. You either have to blow up and or be really unlucky. And if you are unlucky, then you just need to make sure that you have the money from the proceeds to be able to pay for the legal fees, whatever that may be.
Okay, I got two things for you. The first thing is, under 28 USC section 24, the SEC has 5 years from the date of the violation to file an enforcement against you. 5 years. And there's a discovery rule where, like, if it's reasonable that they wouldn't have discovered you, like you tried to conceal it, they can extend that. But if you were a public-facing figure, even on a small platform, and you're talking about it, I'm not a lawyer. But I would imagine a lawyer who's competent could argue, this guy was out here. He was doing it. They only had 5 years, and it's been 10 or whatever. Yeah. And the second thing is, I've forgotten the second thing. I think it has something to do
the
with
statute of limitations you're saying is 5 years. Basically.
It's 5 years.
From
It's 5 years.
The sale of it, the start of it?
No, from the alleged violation. So, I would say probably the last, talk about it, don't talk about it. But the second thing I was going to say is this, is the only way to make money on a meme token, this, is by selling to somebody else who's picking up your bags. Yeah. So my question to you is, if you could get away with it from the SEC perspective, would you feel comfortable standing up on a platform you've built with trust and credibility and reputation and stuff, and then saying basically to people like, go buy my meme token, with the understanding subliminally that when you sell it, it's because somebody else is just sending you money they'll never see again?
Yeah, I mean every coin technically is a PvP market, so you're always selling to somebody, but it's just a matter of how big it is. So if it's a $100,000 coin market cap,
but it's not just how big it is. I'm asking you about the question. This is a trolley problem. It's not just a stranger on the tracks. It is the people who tune into you. Who's going to buy this token? The people who know, like, and trust you. The people who tune into TikTok and the algorithm shows them your video. So it is more likely in this particular instance that the people you are dumping on are going to be people who bought because they know you. That's all. I'm just asking you to consider it.
I've thought about that. Oh, sorry, Mac. I know everyone's kind of asking you directly. But
I'd love to hear everyone's thoughts, because that's a problem for me.
Okay. Personally. Yeah, I've thought about that too, particularly with the SOBA stuff with Crypto Bastard. And I was like, if I did it, I wouldn't give myself any supply out the gate. I would just, anything that I would buy, I would just kind of like buy on my own. It's a small market cap. You can buy a lot if you wanted. And then I would let people know, like, hey, I'm going to average my way out and like telegraph it just from like a karma standpoint to feel good. But at the end of the day, if like people lose money on it, people also made money on it. And it's the same as any market. It's the same as like selling Bitcoin. Someone's going to sell the top of this Bitcoin cycle to some poor person who's going to buy that sale at the very top and have to hold it for 4 years to be back in profit, right? So like that's the same for every single market. But personally, I would just like if I made it, I would telegraph to people like, hey, here's my wallet for this. You can track it. This is the amount that's in it now. I didn't give myself any. I bought some, or maybe I gave myself 5%. Something small. And like I'm gonna average my way out on these dates, right? Like make it a known thing. Or even if you didn't, like that would just be what I would do. But even if you didn't, you still provided an opportunity for your followers to make money along the way, as long as you didn't like immediately like rug pull or whatever. But you still gave the opportunity for people to make money. And in every single market, no matter what, people are gonna lose money. It's just kind of the nature of the game.
I was thinking something similar too. Like, for one, I would not be like shilling this on my platform all the time. Yeah. I don't even know if I would mention it on this one, but the same thing. Like, I wouldn't keep any of the supply for myself. I would buy it on the open market, and then And to answer your question, it would feel shitty if I were promoting a coin and only to wait for it to pump to dump on people. That would be a yucky feeling for sure. But the only thing I'd say that would ameliorate that would just be the size. If it became a thing of its own that wasn't tied to my name and it was just like a bunch of people playing, here and there, going up and going down, just because it goes down or because I sell doesn't mean that it won't go higher still. So it's kind of like up to the size of the market to determine the ultimate price. I don't think you're necessarily evil for selling something if it goes higher, because then, the argument could be made, well, I could have waited and held for more and gotten more profit.
And that comment by Aaron right there, like that's true. Like fair launch still isn't necessarily a fair launch, because like the team can go and buy it at like a $10,000 market cap.
Yes. Or they have like whales. One of I won't mention him, but one dev that we know said that like a lot of these fair launches are connected with pretty highfalutin VC wallets and or dev wallets that kind of are in the know. So it's not a fair launch behind the scenes, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I have lots of very strong opinions about all of this. I know a couple things to be true. This conversation taking place is causing lawyers all over the place's ears to burn. And I cannot fathom a world in which like it just becomes okay to do this when there are better and easier and more ethical ways to like run a business or make money. And I've seen time and time again communities run by a grifter just become this cesspool of anger and bullshit where the people who won the interaction are just shitting relentlessly on the people that lost, who are bitter forever. And now your whole vibe is just this toxic deluge of bullshit, and you're just stuck in the middle trying to like defend or validate whatever you did when it was pointless and stupid. It served no one. It did nothing good for anybody. And it was just a waste of everyone's time, energy, and your like, if you have to sit here and debate this heavily with yourself about whether the thing you're considering doing is illegal or not, or what the odds are that you doing the illegal thing is going to get caught by the enforcement agency and then brought before a jury of your peers to determine whether or not you are actually culpable for the law that you broke, which we're all admitting right now is a law that you're comfortable breaking because the odds of you getting caught are low. What the fuck are we talking about?
Well, there's no laws being broken if you do it right. A, B, there are tons of multi-billion-dollar meme coin market caps out there. So are you saying that all of those don't serve any need and they're all illegal and not worth having been done?
I mean, I'm pretty open about the fact that most of them are illegal and they're not serving anyone. And yes, I am very opposed to them being run in general. And also,
don't find the value in them doesn't mean that other people don't. Like a lot of people are fed up with VC coins, and they want a coin that's by the community that they have, some significant chance to feel like they have an impact on. I don't buy any meme coins myself. You guys buy more memes than I do.
Yes.
But I don't think that memes are bad. I think that they're like a silly thing that represent a need within the market.
I don't think memes are bad either, and that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is everything that we have been describing here thus far is a single individual wanting to launch something that we're trying to figure out, well, how do I make the most money off of it? Like, how do I legally give myself some supply? Which, spoiler alert, you can't. I don't care if it's 1% or 99%, it's all illegal. And whether you tell people that you're going to dump on them and sell whatever, then, and I could get into, I'm not going to talk about the lottery because, I don't agree that the lottery is a good thing either, but that's besides the point right now.
None of us wanted any
supply. How would it be illegal if you like give out the supply to everybody? Because then at that point, isn't it just a free market asset that you could then go buy on the free market, and then that wouldn't be illegal?
Yes.
Okay.
But then the debate becomes, okay, how much like warning time did you give yourself to make the purchase? Did the information that you that was made public to this free market give everyone the same fighting chance to like compete for the thing and get the thing, or did you like pull a Nancy Pelosi and buy the thing before you did a thing that was going to make it obvious and publicly available? Like,
I don't think that that's a bad. I don't think that that's a strong argument, because like Nancy Pelosi has inside information about another company, which her policy decision making, track record is going to impact. Yes. It's different if you are the founder and you believe in something. You know what I mean? Like any business anywhere, the founder has to put their own skin in the game. So I don't really see that as being all that different than starting a coin, renouncing the contract, and buying some of it because you know what's in your heart. And
my point is that manipulating something that you created is not any better than manipulating something that someone else created.
But how is it manipulating?
Manipulation though is like a very sorry, I want to keep talking, but I do have to run for a call. Sorry, I gotta hop off. But damn it!
Okay.
I'll see you guys later. We'll talk more.
We'll talk more.
Okay.
I just like, so no, and I'm not saying that all of it is manipulation, but like if person A wants to launch a thing, and they have a platform by which they can advertise it. And it's true that, none of us are as big as the Scott Melkers or the BitBoys or the whatevers. We don't have the same reach and influence. But, I mean, if, even with tens of thousands of followers, and if you do a thing that leads someone to believe for whatever reason because of who you are and what your character is, that this time it's going to be different and this time we're all going to somehow make money and we're not going to get grifted on. You are at the end of the day, you as the expert are leveraging your expertise and your skill to do something that you know, because you're not stupid, is going to hose someone. And you have to decide to yourself, like, okay, well, how much of the people who are going to watch me to learn something and do whatever, how many of those people am I okay with getting hosed? Because at the end of the day, it's not technically illegal, and technically I gave them all a fair shake.
How is this any different than the NFT project that we launched?
Because it's extremely different when you're launching a liquid, like trade in and out, buy, sell on some sort of a market versus selling a product to someone that they're able to trade later. It's a nuance, but it is a difference.
Yeah, I think it's a difference too.
Because of the utility, you're saying then?
No, I'm saying, like, yes, NFTs are more easily tradable back and forth than something like a Magic card, because I have to like take it to the store and like get someone to agree. And the NFT just kind of digitizes that whole interaction. But if Evan and I took this meme coin that we made a few months ago or a month ago or whatever it was, and like actually put liquidity into it and pumped it out and got an agreement with some marketplace or some DEX to host it and facilitate trading, whatever, then you're buying and selling in and out of something like through market makers, and there's all sorts of room for exploit, whatever. With an NFT project, what you're doing essentially, if you do it correctly, and obviously we all saw people do it illegally and incorrectly, is creating a product and selling the product. And at the end of the day, whatever happens to the product is kind of one thing. And you could make the argument that a fungible token is also a product, but just based on the way that those markets and those trades are possible and the different tools that there are to facilitate trading in and out of something that is a liquid asset, like there is a notable enough difference and nuance. And I think that's why most NFT projects just haven't gotten the same kind of scrutiny that tokens have gotten.
Yeah, and there's also a lot less friction to trade a token when the only incentive is, like, hey, it's cash. Do you want the cash or not? Like the numbers going up and down. That is the game. When you attach something to a token, like even if it's just a JPEG, a piece of art, the context of a community, all this really subjective stuff that requires different kinds of assignation of value and interpretation, it's way more friction than like, does it look like Solana is going up today? Does it look like Doge is, you know what I mean? The meme coins, that's all it is number, Yeah, I think it's way different.
I think, when we talk about these projects and how the right way to launch them is, and, how to avoid scrutiny and really walk that tightrope of legality, is when you're looking at case law, when you take a look at why one of the reasons Bitcoin was named as a commodity, if you go back and have a look at how that supply of Bitcoin was even put into the ethos, how it was put into the environment, Satoshi made it so anyone could have gotten it at any time if they wanted to mine it, however they wanted to get it. I think where most projects go wrong is, like Alex was saying, one, they hold the majority of the supply, if not all of the supply. So I think in order to get around that, you've really got to be in an environment where the supply is out there. You don't control it. It's out there. It's available for everyone to get. And I think if that's something that Mack wants to do, if he gives people enough lead time and says, hey, February 28th or July 28th, whatever the case may be, if people don't buy that, it's the same principle about Bitcoin. One of the biggest issues that people have, it's centralized, da-da-da-da-da. Okay, but why is it centralized? Well, because a few wallets have the most Bitcoin. Well, whose fault is that? Bitcoin was put out there. It was available for everyone to get it. You get Bitcoin at the price you deserve. If Mack wants to do a project, people are going to get into that project at the price or the time that they deserve. So as long as he doesn't control the supply and it's available and it's out there, I think he's towing the line of could he potentially get in trouble. But in that regard, I really think it does kind of fall under the same principle as what Satoshi did with Bitcoin. Hey, I put it out there. I made it available for everyone to get. If you got it, cool. If you didn't and you waited, so be it. I don't necessarily control the supply, or I don't control it because I pre-mined myself an allocation. I put it out there and I was buying it just as the regular general populace was buying it.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, like I said, Mac, I don't want you to think that I'm not saying you can't do it legally, because fair launch is a thing. There's plenty of memes that I'm a big fan of for whatever reason. But there is also a reason that at the end of the day, the people who launch these big ones usually remain anonymous. And that's kind of like what Glenn was saying, that really the only way to do it is to like telegraph what you're doing, pull the trigger, and then just walk away. because
100%.
the more you involve yourself with it, all of those intricacies start to get tangled, and then it becomes like a mess that either will just be a problem or it will get sorted out in court one day. And that's just not a situation I would like want to find myself in personally. But again, my disagreement with this is ethical, which is just my opinion. I'm not right or wrong about that at all. And my opinion means only as much as whatever anyone who listens to it thinks that it's worth. So, take that with a grain of salt. So that's, that's really it.
I'm not disagreeing with I agree with what you said, Glenn. And let me just say, this is largely hypothetical. This is
we're
not
just talking.
by any means like an actual plan that I'm going to do, because if I do launch a coin, I'd have to put my reputation to it, and I wouldn't want it to go to shit, and then people be like, "Oh, Mack rugged." So I was just it was a thought I had on a run the other day. But since we're in it, the part that I disagree with is the part about like being passionate about it as the creator, because Alex was kind of seeming to make the case that like it's manipulation, and I don't agree with that. I think that of course you need to take steps to make sure that it's a public fair access token. You need to renounce the contract so that you don't have the option or the propensity to rug pull. But I don't think there's anything wrong with launching a token and just like I think that I'd need to do a deep dive, but there's some kind of identity tied with the major meme coins, and there's some small group of people behind it, and they had to have gotten the word out somehow, because if no one knew about the meme coin, then it never would have blown up. So however that happened, I don't know if I would call that manipulation, or maybe there's just nuance to saying like, okay, you can tweet about it once a week, but if you do it any more than that, then it's market manipulation. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, to your point, if you look at meme coins like a business, they all have their channels of distribution. And this is kind of what DeFi Daddy and I were talking about a couple of weeks ago. Even Sage, like you said, it's only a handful of developers that are coming out with these meme coins. And that's something that like a lot of people don't know. They think it's random people in their basement or their offices. Oh, I got an idea. No, it's really a handful of the same cats that are creating these meme coins. And they just go through the same channels of distribution. Hey, I'll give you $500 to talk about this coin. Hey, I'll give you, $3,200 to talk about this coin. And they just keep running the same play over and over and over again.
It's all in the presentation. I've always said, like, I don't have an issue with meme coins existing if they're represented correctly. I mean, Evan and I took a meeting with the creators of one of these political satire memes 2 weeks ago or whatever. And the first thing that they did was try to pitch me on why their meme is better than other memes and why it's going to change the meme world or whatever. And I got pretty rude and very curt and was just like, can you stop? First of all, don't treat me like I'm an idiot. And second of all, stop reading me this sleazy car salesman brochure, because we all know what this is. Like, you're running a pile of shit, funny political meme, and that's what it is. So stop pretending it's anything else, first of all, and just lean into what it is. So if you did it correctly, in my opinion, you'd have to first start off by saying, like, look, here's a meme token, and this is how memes work. It doesn't do anything. It's funny. There's a trend. It'll catch hype. It will go up. It will go down. Some of you are going to probably make some money at the expense of everyone else. Most of you are going to lose money doing this. If you go in, and this is why I hate these things so much, and I will confidently use the word hate. If you go into the Telegram groups for any of these influencers who are making a meme, it is not full of people who understand what's going on. It's full of people who are just getting absolutely dunked on and being just coerced into participating into something because they're desperate or because they really just are falling for the con of being in the community. These are people who are like, you can read their comments and it just makes you hurt inside. It just hurts your soul that these are people who are like they're spending money they don't have to support you because they love you, or to fall for the con. And it's never worth it.
Yeah,
even
I get
if
where
you
you're
do
coming
it
from
legally.
now. That makes sense. That makes sense to me, because I don't know. I think it kind of goes back to like the religion talk that we had. Like religions start out as a cult, and they're widely disparaged
Yes.
and condemned. And then suddenly they become, this thing that everyone is involved with. And then it's like, oh, okay, no, it's cool. Christianity's in the club, but when it started, for that first couple hundred years, it was a grind. So it's kind of like this. It's like when these meme coins start, and depending on the verbiage that gets used and the communities that are had, there's a lot of blood. But then once they really reach this kind of like $1 billion market cap status, they're like a part of the society, and it's a net good for the market.
I mean, kind of. And that's the question is like, how are you going to do it legally, or are you going to do it? What is legal is not always right. And who's to say what is right except you? You are the captain of your own soul kind of thing. Yeah. And it's like either you launch a meme token that you will market as yourself based on your reputation, or you will have to play the game of, am I doing this legally? And then the strategy becomes, is the meme good? And it's like, on one hand, Mack launching a token could almost certainly hit $1 million market cap in his dreams. 9 times out of 10, I would bet on that horse. But an anonymous team trying to generate hype and like time the culture and get on the meme and catch people's attention, that's a way harder like horse to bet on. But if you hit it big and you could be more legally compliant, you could possibly, I don't know, go farther. It's tough. It's interesting to talk about hypothetically.
Yeah, it's a good discussion either way.
And if you do it, I want you to tell me in the situation room so that I can buy it.
So we can do a fair launch.
And then, if you go to jail for it, we'll bail you out with our millions.
Yeah. We'll do a fair launch where
we'll do a fair launch.
Get in.
Let me say officially, Glenn, welcome, man. Thank you for just hopping right in. I appreciate always your contributions to the conversation. And Tuesday, if you don't know, on the Rise Up Morning Show, this is like our big panel day. So let me take a second to kind of reset the room. Alex has got that look on his face that says he's about well met 30 minutes ago. And I'm thinking maybe, what do you want to do? You want to run through a couple of questions? We've had some questions. I know you have questions on your list. Would love to, get Glenn's take on anything that we've talked about, and then maybe talk about wrapping up our horse and pony show, in the not too distant future here. Does that sound good generally to you guys?
Yeah, it sounds perfect.
Yeah, for
Okay,
sure.
cool. Then let me say, Glenn, while you take a second to think about what you might want to share, if you haven't already, please do us a favor and write this down. We're here every Monday through Thursday, 7 a.m. Central Standard Time, 12 p.m. UTC. No hype, news, commentary, and answers to your crypto questions. We want to have more folks like Glenn, trusted educators on to just bring you the very best that TikTok has to offer in terms of crypto education. If you don't have time to join a live show 4 times a week, I don't blame you. We put the streams up on YouTube at Faceless Labs. We do a super brief newsletter every week that's got like the best links, tip, tricks, bullets. Find it at either of our profiles or at theriseupmorningshow.com. And do be sure to join the Discord server. Just launched it yesterday. We're aggregating great resources there that you can access for free. And then we're building out premium offerings too, so that if you want something even more valuable, it'll be there for you. But you don't have to pay a darn thing except a little bit of attention to get in that room. And it's a great place to go. If you want to learn crypto, the number one tip I can give you is to join a community of people that are also interested and curious about it. And communities, they're like workplace cultures. Some are, really wonderful. Some are really toxic. And we're working very hard to make this the kind of community that will accelerate your learning journey. Nobody's going to, try and make you feel ashamed or stupid or sell you anything that is not going to be a good choice for you. We want you there. That's the end of the commercial. Glenn, what you thinking, man? How you been? What's on your mind?
First of all, let me say I have been to a handful of these, of your guys' Monday shows, Tuesday shows. I absolutely love them. I'm going to say something's going to be a bit brash, but I think sometimes you need to be brash. Death to the hype beast. And I love the platform that you guys have curated here. It comes from a very objective place. It does a wonder to people who are trying to find their footing in crypto and just trying to find a group of sensible voices in the space. I think for far too long, we've kind of swung too far to the other side of the pendulum, and it's good to be what I would call, and I'm doing air quotes, you can't see it, but like the intellectuals, right? The people that are offering a different style of conversation to crypto because it's needed. And oftentimes these conversations might not always be sexy. They may not be the attention grabbing, inducing emotions that you get from some of the hype communities or some of the hype videos, but they are needed, because if you're looking at this thing in a race, I think communities like this, if your end goal is money, right? If you're trying to free yourself, whatever the case may be, conversations like this, I think, lead to a higher net return than the flash in the pans, which is why I'm not the greatest fan of meme coins. I think oftentimes they leave people in their wake. They leave more people in disarray than they leave with riches. So anytime conversations like this pop up, I'm always going to be a supporter. I'm always going to be one to try to jump in and add value, because I think these are the conversations that need to be had in crypto.
Man, thanks, Glenn. We really appreciate you being here. It's a big feather in my cap that somebody I respect as much as you, who would take the time to come, watch, and share. So you rock, brother.
For sure, man. You've been doing your thing. I've been watching and like I said, jumping in the lives and the comments. I'm just watching. I'm seeing it growing. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Thank you. Alex, you got a thought on that, or have you been tracking questions? What you thinking?
Yeah, there was a bunch, but I do, of course, appreciate that, Glenn. That means a lot. So thank you for taking the time to say all that. I definitely, agree. That's kind of the point. I know it's not the catchiest stuff, but I always just think about, like, even from a business perspective, you look at, like, the voices that I listen to, that I find my influence in, that I, like, learn the most from. You've got, like, Christo, Alex Hormozi, Cody Sanchez. Like, these are all people that will tell you the same thing. Like, if you focus on just money, then you might end up there, but sustainability, longevity, and like overall, like, the lump sum of, like, building that legacy or empire is never going to come from a goal where the only goal is money. And I mean, when you listen to those people talk, they're talking with just passion, and it didn't start super sexy. I mean, look at how big Hormozi's empire is now, and look how it started. Let
me say this, right? Because Alex, I've seen your stuff popping up more and more on my timeline, and I love that, because I think the videos, obviously, you come from a background where you've been in crypto a long time, north of 5 years, right?
Yeah, not like paying super close attention for the whole time, but 8 years ago ish is when I bought the first thing. I just didn't do anything for a few years with it.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah. So just even seeing your stuff pop up on timeline, I'm like, okay, TikTok, finally, thank you. You're actually giving me something that, is useful, and it's not just buy this 10x meme coin, it's going to make you rich. So let me give you your flowers as well, because I think the videos that you're putting out are, in fact, they're helping people from, people who have been away, but now they're coming back and they're just unfamiliar to, like, you've been doing a library of content on crypto scams. And that's something I think is important, because as we continue on into this bull run, people are going to need to be able to stay abreast as to new scams that are going out, right? So the content that you're putting out in that regard, I think, is going to continue to serve a litany of people well beyond, this summer. If this market extends into the fall or the winter or, early next year, that content is still going to be able to be valuable. So again, let me, give you your roses and give you props where props are due, because I think that content that you're putting out is very valuable.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Mac, is digital residency all it's cracked up to be? Somebody asked us about that a minute ago, and you're the only guy I know who's got his Palau ID right now. I'm thinking about it. Alex just got the dual citizenship process going. Yeah. So are we bullish?
I would say yes. Yeah. I mean, it's going to take you probably a month to get it, maybe more. But yeah, it's worked with a few different exchanges for me, a few different random one-off things like node sales, or sometimes staking requires it, so I like it. I mean, it's only $250 per year. I don't know if I'll continue it for more than another year, but yeah, man, I'm a big fan of it.
And for people who don't know, this is specifically Max talking about a Palau digital residency program, which is an apply to earn digital proof of residency in Palau. It's like buying a driver's license when you're 16 so you can go drink at the party. And it will allow you to participate in a lot of different crypto stuff that isn't accessible for legal reasons to people who live in places like the United States. If you live in New York, man, it's not a bad use of $250, honestly. Yeah. Pre-sales, launch pads. A lot of what people would say are historically some of the surer investments in cryptocurrency are not accessible to people who live in the United States specifically. Glenn, is that something you're hip to? Have you got a digital ID? Have you considered residency somewhere else?
So I actually have the Palau ID. I was going on tour telling the people about it last summer.
Hell yeah, man. I didn't even know. I missed it.
Yeah. So I did a big like promo for that. Not promo, but just a lot of my lives were centered around that for a long time because people need it. They need options. If this is,
Yeah,
listen,
for real.
you don't, again, if money is your end goal, you don't make the money you want to make after the wave has already happened. You kind of have to be there, let the masses come to you, and then decide what you want your exit to be. And just looking at it, if you're in New York, you get bent over a barrel. If you're in, I think, Texas for a little while, you had some issues with some exchanges. You were getting bent over a barrel. And it's like, guys, listen.
Washington State gets
Washington State, yeah, it's like the more money we make, the more money you guys are going to make from a tax revenue base, right? So let's be sensical about this. Let's not be crazy about it. So when I found out about it, I said, yes, absolutely, because I was strongly considering doing citizenship by investment to a few places in Africa. So Cameroon was one. Nigeria was one.
What's the threshold on those?
Yeah.
So in some of the smaller countries, if you're buying property at least $100,000, you can actually get investment by citizenship. Some of the larger countries, Cameroon, Nigeria, I think it's like north of $1 million, right? So you kind of got to be able to navigate that water a little bit. And then this article pops up on my computer, and I'm like, Palau, cryptocurrency. Okay, like I had crypto in the title, so I'm like, you immediately have my attention. Like, let's go ahead and check this out. So jumped in it, started reading about it, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be a game changer. And I'll be honest, like when I first went to the website, and I know it looks totally different now, going to the website back then, it looked a little sketch. But I'm like, you know what, sometimes you got to be the first cowboy over the hill. Put in information, they did the background check, and you're getting updates as it goes, through the process. So you start to feel a little bit better about it. And then like week 2.5 goes by, you're like, come on, man, it doesn't take 2.5 weeks to get anything in today's day and age. And when I finally got my ID, it was probably 3.5 weeks later. And so that was the main thing I tried to make known to everyone who I was saying, hey, check this out. Because if you're going to do it, it's probably going to be 3.5 weeks by the time you fill out the application to the time you actually get the card in your hand. So
for me, it was a little bit longer because I did it later. I did it this year. Okay. So that's why I'm thinking like probably a month and a half. But
so you were probably caught up in the backlog.
Yeah. So, but they're super responsive on their website and on Twitter even, and they're coming out with a thing too, hopefully soon, that allows you to do proof of residency. So that's the one thing that Palau ID does not get you. So some of these KYC programs they make you put in a proof of residency. So like a utility bill or something like that, which obviously you can't do. But they are trying to come up with a managed service where like you will have an address in Palau that you can then have proof for and use, which would be pretty cool.
Yeah, it'll be like the equivalent of doing like a Regis address for anyone if you have a business about Regis or like the digital office, or it's not, I forget what it's called, but yeah, for like a Regis.
I think it's just called managed address. Yeah.
Yeah, like a managed address. Right.
Can I address one of the questions that I saw in the chat here?
Sure.
Because I've gotten this a few times and it kind of annoys me a little bit, but I'm not angry or anything. But Kai Torres said, "Am I related at all to Alex Becker?" And I just want to say, so everyone knows, I've not only been doing crypto, I've also been doing jujitsu longer than Alex Becker. So everyone's like, "Oh wow, Mac, you do crypto and jiu-jitsu, cool." I'm like, no, dude, I've been doing jiu-jitsu since I was 18 and crypto for way longer than Alex Becker. So I just want to have everyone.
Thank you for clearing that up.
Yeah.
Thank you for clearing that up.
And there's a question here from Kai. He says, "What about Dubai?" And so I have to talk about this because I was on Rex's live, Ty's live, and if you know me, it's like you already understand the relationship between those guys and myself. It bothers me to no end when I see so many people perpetuating misinformation without, like, you don't know what you don't know. So for anyone that's like, well, what about Dubai? What about moving here? Listen, it doesn't matter if you make $1 gajillion in this bull run. If you uproot yourself and you move to Dubai, you are still going to have to pay taxes here in America or wherever you're from, right? And the thing that bothers me, these guys, they do not tell you that if that is the move that you want to make, 1, you have to give up your U.S. citizenship. 2, you have to establish new tax residency somewhere else. Those are 2 of the main boxes that have to check if you're ever like, I want to be done with paying United States taxes. Because if you simply just up and move somewhere, the government is still going to come knock on your door and like, hey, you still, we don't care if you made money in Saint Tropez. If you're an American citizen, you owe us money.
It's worldwide.
That's worldwide. So if you want to get away from that, you have got to establish new tax residency in another country, and they have guidelines depending on the country that you're looking at that has to be done before you can even accomplish that goal. And two, you have to give up your U.S. citizenship. So yes, you can do Dubai. It's very tax friendly. I think the corporate tax rate is 9%. So if you're a trader and all your trades go through your business, you're only going to pay 9%. Way more attractive than what's going on in the United States. If you're just trading personally and you just happen to be over in Dubai, then I think your taxes are 0. But keep in mind, you're going to get hit in other ways. So your food's going to be more expensive, your vehicle's going to be more expensive, your living accommodations are going to be more expensive, and you still have to be able to obtain a visa in some other way that would even allow you to get over into Dubai. So it's not just as simple as saying, oh, I'm going to go to Dubai when I make a lot of money. It doesn't quite work that way.
There was a question about Portugal too. Mac and I, this was a few years ago. Mac, I don't remember his name off the top of it. Do you remember, was it the guy in Miami that we met who was from Portugal?
He was at the Bitcoin conference. I remember seeing that talk.
Is it like, no. We met him out on the street. We went to like a satellite event with him or something like that. And then we connected with him again later. Anyway, point is that like Portugal is one of those that got floated a little bit too, but there's also residency requirements for some of these places to where, like, I think Portugal, it was 60 days of the year you need to be like in Portugal, like at the address that you're paying for, to, be able to afford any of the tax benefits. I also, just on the topic of misinformation around some of this stuff, I hear all the time about, like if you're trying to launch a project and you're concerned about the business implications of running a crypto related business out of the United States, because of SEC requirements and regulations and stuff. So you move and you like incorporate in the Bahamas or something like that. At the end of the day, you can incorporate on Mars if you want. If you're selling to U.S. citizens, the SEC can still touch you, and they can still come after you. So there's really no point leaving if you're going to sell to U.S. citizens, which is why this conversation matters, because most of the people who want to do it legally and skip the U.S. thing, they KYC and they eliminate U.S. citizens from being able to participate because they don't want the SEC to be able to touch them.
Are you talking about Petrix?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Listen, Alex, first of all, I need you to remember that I was there too. It hurts my feelings when we have such lovely times and you forget that I was part of it. But to be fair, you all also think that I was there for things I wasn't there for. Petrix, he's the CEO of, I just Googled him, Match Chain now. No idea. He used to do Moon Boots Capital. That's what I remember.
That's what it was.
He was an Olympian. He was a cool guy.
He was an Olympic gymnast, Glenn. If you aren't doing, have you done the conference circuit, Glenn? Just like taking.
You know what? Okay, so
because they're wild, man. The people you meet.
The last 2 years, I've wanted to go to NFT LA, Bitcoin Miami, like all the main ones, right? And even some of the lesser known ones.
Sure.
And every time the main ones come around, we're having a baby. The last 2 years.
At least you're fertile,
so Mack,
man.
Listen, Mack was talking about his girl rugging him earlier. For like the last 2 years, my kids have rugged me.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta do bear market babies, and then bull markets are for.
I think we're done. I think we're done now, right? Like we've got a little too overzealous and maybe overachieved a little bit. So I think we're good on that front. But yeah, so maybe this summer we'll get out to a couple.
If you guys do get a chance to move out of the country or renounce citizenship, I would highly suggest considering a lot of East Asian countries. Thailand is really trying to get people there. They just took away capital gains on crypto for residents, which is really cool. And Singapore is just a massive hub as well. So I think, and there's just a lot of adoption over in places like Japan and Korea as well. So Thailand, Vietnam, Singapore, Bali, I know, has a lot of people in crypto, and that's Indonesia. So yeah, a lot of options over there, and your dollar's going to go a lot farther too.
Bali is like this entrepreneurial hub, right? I feel like them, Dubai. And you know what you just mentioned there about Vietnam is probably a hidden gem, because Vietnam on the back end has been trying to do a lot of things to make themselves more attractable to a lot of different industries. So I wouldn't be surprised in the next 5-10 years if Vietnam was this place that everyone was flocking to.
They got a strong entrepreneurship.
Also, the Philippines, they're very blockchain friendly. They've had like elections on chain. They're doing cool stuff.
Get it together, America. We need some of that.
So I'm super curious, Mac, how the Palau stuff progresses, because Palau is one of those like really specific places that I just happen to know a lot about, because one of my best friends was born in Palau, and he's a Palauan native, and his family is actually like very deep in the government on Palau. So they live most of their life in Guam, but of course a lot of Chamorro people who live in Guam are from Palau. And I know like his uncle, for example, was recently the president of Palau, and he's no longer in office. He's out of office now. But anyway, but there's a whole lot of really specific things to like protect the island of Palau. Like, for example, non-Palauan natives cannot own any property on the island. And if anyone who is not a Palauan native wants to even get there and own anything, they have to be basically like sponsored and nearly adopted by a Palauan native who doesn't have to live there, but there's not very many of them. There's not very many people who are like Palauan native.
It's like 20, 30,000 people, right?
Yeah.
It's like a small island.
That was like one of my pipe dream businesses as a young man when I was first in the Coast Guard with my friend from Guam, was that, his parents live in Guam, but they have a property in Palau. And we wanted to open a dive shop in Palau because the best scuba diving in the world is Palau. Hands down. I don't care what anyone says. It's better than anywhere else. And I've scuba dived in a lot of places around the world. So that was the goal. But it only worked with him. But anyway, I'm just super curious how that works, like with the ID, and if they're selling like managed addresses or whatever, kind of how all that stuff works, just because I know it's super locked down.
Well, two things I'll say is the reason it started is because of COVID. COVID cut a third of their economy away because, people can't travel anymore. So they said, okay, we need to come up with something that gets this island some money. So then they started selling these digital IDs, which is brilliant because they keep the population on the island the same. There's no tax implications, but at the same time, they get money for people who want to, be able to use some fucking exchanges. Honestly, shout out to the SEC because they're basically single-handedly funding these Palau, economy, at least a good third of it. So
for real,
that's one thing. But the other thing I'll say is I don't think the Palau ID is going to last forever. I think the U.S. is going to shut it down probably within the next year or two. That could be wrong, but they just tweeted recently that they had a disappointing, I think was the word they used, talk with some U.S. regulators. So, yeah. Take that what you will. I still think it's worth trying to get it because this is a bull market and they only happen once every 4 years. But past that, who knows?
There are some others, and for the sake of maybe trying to keep it off the SEC's radar, if you guys want to know more about those, just DM me. I'd be happy to share them with you, because I think in these kind of instances, you need to have a toolbox of currently legal workarounds to use so that you can bolster the position. And again, the more money we make, the more money they're going to make from a tax standpoint. So it doesn't, for my eyes, it doesn't make any sense to try to fight it. They need to be trying to do everything to welcome it, maybe even change the tax code here in the States, because what they're proposing now, a potential 22% on unrealized capital gains, like, nah, forget that. That.
Yeah, I don't know if that could ever be passed. That would be crazy.
Right. I mean, just even having the conversation, it's like you would all but destroy the incentive.
Maybe they'll do uncapitalized or unrealized losses as well.
Yeah, I feel like at some point that has to enter the conversation, right? Like just an expanded capital loss declaration, because it's still like has for years blown my mind that like I'm capped at $3,000 a year personal capital loss declaration, but there is absolutely no ceiling, and it exclusively gets worse for me the higher you go.
Yep.
And like, oh, thank you so much. I can roll my capital loss over 1 year, so I can just kind of continually snowball, but like never get out of the hole. And of course, there's workarounds with, personal corporations and, various ways to like manage personal trusts and stuff like that to get around it. But like, they're expensive to set up. It's not easy to maintain. You got to have a lawyer and an accountant and a tax professional who like really knows how to help you, unless you do all that research by yourself. And it's tough. I mean, it's just, I don't know. Tax law here makes me cry.
Makes some people rich.
I mean, it's like, so my dual citizenship is Germany. And it's one of those things that Yeah, I've had it for my entire life, and I found out like a year and a half ago that I was entitled to it, and I just like sent in a letter being like, "Hey, I'm alive," and they sent me a passport. So that was kind of cool. But I vividly remember, like the time I spent in that part of the world as a young person, and like it's true that on paper when you look at it, because the most common argument I hear is like, "Oh yeah, well your income tax rate is 40% or 37% or something," and I'm like, first of all, it's pretty high here, and second of all, go live in one of these European countries for a minute and just exist as a human being and look how low your expenses are because of how many things are just handed to you because your tax dollars buy things that you can actually use instead of just funding the military.
Wait, they actually have representation?
Oh, dude, it's wild.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
there's like 17 political parties that you get to choose from, and the elections are always, it's like a debate of one party's difference between this party and that party is like one single issue.
Imagine having taxation and you get representation. Wow, what a novel concept.
Right. Quality of life, what's that?
It's so weird.
Which is why I think so many people try to make as much money as they can here because like you have to. And shout out to you, Alex, for having the dual citizenship and actually exercising it. I was having this talk on Twitter like 3 weeks ago, and I said, listen, if you have parents who are from another country and you can get access to dual citizenship and you have not done it, you are fumbling the bag.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. It's funny because we almost fumbled the bag. None of us knew about it. And my dad only found out because he went to renew his green card. And they mentioned like, "Oh, are your kids coming in too?" And he's like, "What? Why would they?" And that's when we found out. And so we did the whole thing. But like when I joined the military and I did my EQIP packet to get a security clearance, I'm sitting in the office, the recruiter's office, filling out my EQIP application. And my father is standing next to me with a pad and a pen, reading things to me in an Eastern European accent that I'm then putting into this security clearance application. The people are looking at me. I get to boot camp in like Coast Guard Investigative Services, which is like our version of NCIS. It's like, you've seen NCIS. We're like the mall cop version of that. So like, they pull me out of class and they're interrogating me about like, who's this and where's your grandfather from? And I'm sitting here just like, dude, I can't remember. That country doesn't even exist anymore, wherever he was born. Right. Got bulldozed by the Russians 60 years ago. So like for a while there, we were like, my dad was going to renounce his citizenship and get American citizenship because it was just making my life hard in the military with security clearance maintenance and all that kind of stuff. So thank God we didn't do that.
Yeah, no, seriously, listen, whoever said, "Are your kids coming?" Whoever he was talking to, like, y'all need to put them on your Christmas list.
Oh, yeah. They've been thanked. That was we wrote them a very polite letter.
Yeah, for real. Seriously.
Okay. Let's do it. Let's do a round of rapid fire questions, and then let's take our final thoughts on dogs and pony shows on the road. Because I see Alex stretching. I'm ready to like stretch my thighs. I got to take this shirt off and put some sunshine on my body.
I've been wearing a shirt for way too long.
I've been wearing a shirt, but somebody said that in the comments. He said, "What's with the shirt?" I thought he was saying like, "Why is it open?" I was like, "Bro, it's hot." He's like, "No, you have one on." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I guess I do. That is an anomaly."
This is a family show.
Evan sent me like 18 videos in a row on Discord with his, like feedback and thoughts the other day, and all of them he's shirtless. And Christina walks around the corner and just sees my Discord DMs with Evan open. And it's just like 18 shirtless Evan videos, and she's like, "What the fuck are you guys doing?" And I was like, "You know what? Don't worry about it."
Alex, we need to have a chat. I have questions. Like, no, I swear it's not what it looks like.
It's not. It's just it's just Evan. Yeah, exactly. Real quick for the people in the comments, if we didn't get to your question today, don't let it discourage you. That's what the Discord's for. I'll say it one more time. Jump in the Discord server. You can find it at theriseupmorningshow.com, the link in all our bios. Just come on over there and ask us a question. We'll be glad to get to it. And if you want to come back tomorrow, we'll answer it then. I saw somebody ask about alien base on base. We touched on that a little bit earlier. If you've got a last minute pressing question, throw it in, we might get to it. But what do you guys have that you wrote down that you wanted to talk on? I think for the most part, I'm well met on everything that I have an opinion on that, I feel is worth anything, except just to say, thank you guys all for being here and making the show great. And I'm speaking to all of you guys, speaking to Will, and of course, everybody at home in the comments, because this is nothing without you. You're investing, and telling a story with everything you say, everything you don't say, everything you choose to buy, everything you amplify, everything you ignore. And so if you're investing in content on TikTok, that's saying a lot. And I think this is one of the best investments I make, is to hang out with you guys. It makes me smarter all the time. And I hope that's the case for all of you.
Yeah,
Now,
man.
as we approach the 3-hour mark on this particular episode of the show, which goddamn, I say all the time, creators have a responsibility to put out good stuff into the ecosystem, but viewers have a responsibility to watch the good stuff and stop promoting the bad stuff. So that's why we collect the people that we collect on this platform. That's why Mack is here. Mack is like, I don't know how he does it because I've tried before and it doesn't come naturally to me. But there's a very specific skill that Mack has where he can talk to you about a cryptocurrency for 10 straight minutes and it never sounds like a commercial. And that's just always, I don't know, you all know it, right? You've seen someone try to tell you about a new token and it just sounds like they're reading the brochure to you, which to me just means they don't understand what it is they're talking about. And Mack just has a different way of doing it. So that's why people like Mack are always here. Not that Mack needs an invitation, because honestly, I'm only on TikTok because of Mack. So never ending shout out for that. But we covered a ton of stuff. I would say that if you feel like you need more information or you want to carry on the conversation about any of it, the ETH ETFs, the likelihood of that happening, what it could mean if it's approved, what it means if it's rejected, all of that kind of stuff. If you're not in the Discord, you should join it because we can carry on this all day long, dipping in and out, sharing links, posting all that kind of good stuff. Will be in there if you have questions about all of that kind of stuff. The more of the base projects, I saw some more questions about Alien and everything. So I would say for sure, jump in the Discord, sign up to the newsletter. They're both free. And that's probably the best. But then again, I'll leave it by saying, Glenn, thanks for hopping up. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day. Not that you scheduled for it. But it's always cool. Dude, Tuesdays are awesome. I fucking love Tuesdays.
Tuesdays are shaping up to be the best day on the show.
Bullish on Tuesdays.
To pop up on Tuesdays because, like I said, every time, and there's times I just, the only thing I can do is just jump in, the chat and just be present that way. But again, when I said earlier, I really meant it. Conversations like this are needed. And it's not that they have to be sexy. It's not that they have to be attention grabbing. The value is in some of the not quote unquote sexy content. The value is and the most return is in conversations like this. I really believe that.
Thank you.
Well,
Mack,
yeah,
what you got?
I guess it's my turn now. So yeah, just wanted to. You guys know I'm not very good at the old sentimental stuff. I like the old insult with a joke. No.
Do it. Stay on brand.
Yeah. No, but I do appreciate these Tuesdays. I woke up late today. I was like, oh fuck, it's Tuesday. I gotta go. So, anyways, yeah, it's always good being with you guys. I'm proud of you guys for grinding these out 4 days a week and staying consistent. And the new Discord is looking clean. There's already a lot of people going in there and talking about stuff. So I'm excited for it. And as always, if you need anything, let me know. I'm here to help.
For sure.
Cool. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time. Find all the links at theriseupmorningshow.com. Leave us your questions in the Discord. And until next time, my friends.